What is up, my friends? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom. Analyst is work you can find over at MMA Junkie as well as ActionNetwork.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. Hopefully it's before the fight, because we're recording late Thursday night, an extra late night edition. Late night. All right, Dan, let's not get creepy with it and start rhyming things that'll get you in trouble. Late night. It's a late night show, and I appreciate you being here. If you are here, if you're not, I don't blame you. I got some likes in here and got some James Kendricks in the house, some chatters already piling in. Thank you guys, of course. Like, subscribes. Not that I deserve it, but you can subscribe to join in on this chat, contribute to the conversation, help keep my energy levels up, because I am going to need it. Dan Tom, you're talking fast. You sound like you're on drugs. What do you mean you need your energy levels up? Well, as you know, when Dan Tom is teetering out, he tends to talk a little fast. You get delirious Dan Tom. So we're going to push through in the effort of that, because old delirious DT here still got a lot of work to go to burn that midnight oil. No time for the oil checks, just burning the oil. You know what I'm saying, guys? All right, easy. Stay on target. But yeah, gonna have some things to do. It's just been crazy. Apologies for the late start. Got Benji boy over here. He's A-okay. We're gonna send in the tumor we took out today. Hopefully it's non-cancerous, but he's recovering okay. But I just got to keep an eye on him. So it's been a little extra duties plus the normal stuff of a week and stuff that you guys don't care about. So let's push through. The dog stuff is worth talking about, though. So I did have to mention that. Ghost Phantom in the house, of course. Rain Lamina in the house. Jimmy Kudo, the enforcers are in full effect. James Kendrick, our opponent has a plus number, just gross, really. We'll have to see what he's saying there. James Kendrick says, "Hi, Dan. Just want to thank you for not being toxic like the rest of the MMA betting community. I didn't experience toxicity until week UFC 300, where they start to discount resumes because the opponent has a plus number. Just gross, really." Oh, yeah. Well, if you think that's gross from the MMA betting community, you just wait and see, man. I swear, it's not very friendly on them streets, but we try to shout the friendly ones on here as per usual. You guys know who the usuals are. But yeah, that's not very fun. Jimmy Kudo, the enforcer, is in the house. Great to see you, Dan. You are in the house, my man. Good to see you as always. Rain Lamina. Let's see if you can get this reference. Don't worry, no weird stuff. Rain Lamina says, "You listen to each other heart, you find you never too far apart. Maybe love is the reason why the first time ever we're seeing it eye to eye." Do you know that 90s song? Ya dong? No, I don't know that 90s song. You're going to have to hit me with that trivia. I didn't get it, and I'm sure I just butchered it, so apologies to your ears. Ghost Phantom in the house. Hey, Dan, you're out. Yeah, I don't know about that. You're awesome, Ghost. Appreciate you. Rita says in Truesdale, "Not a fan of the many fighters on this card, except Pantoja." Pantoja, baby. Pantoja. I wonder where Dan's going with this one. I don't think my breakdown's even out yet on Junkie. As of this recording, it should be by the time you guys are hearing this, hopefully soon. But yeah, we'll definitely get to that. You guys know, Pantoja's one of my favorites. Does that mean he's going to win? Of course not, but we'll break down that matchup. We roll it! Yeah! Sorry. That was my Fenyo in the house with, triggered me off to do my, oh my God, now how am I missing this man's name? Oh my goodness. Burt Watson, for real, the real Burt Watson, man, impression there. "Come on, baby, it's time to shine. When the lights are going on, someone's light is going out." Love that guy. That's why I loved going to the Bellator shows, because you'd still hear Burt Watson going at it. James Kendrick, Fenyo is here. Any Action Sportscast? Hope your dog is good, bro. Appreciate that. Dog lovers in the house. Appreciate that. Hopefully the next break here in the schedule, I'm going to take him out to the beach in California to knock that off the bucket list while my baby man is still here. It's from a 90s movie, a Goofy movie. I remember a Goofy movie. If you ever watched that back then, I remember that. Wow, I haven't seen that in forever, but yes, I remember now. But we're going to get this Goofy show off to a start that's not as goofy as usual. We'll see. I don't know. Kind of too late for that. But I do have results pulled up on a tab and written down. And we are coming off, a winning week? I know. You can't get it too excited. Even when, I was doing air quotes well or okay or even good at times, I knew better than to get excited about a winning week, so I'm definitely not going to do it now, especially last time. Granted, the last time was an air quotes big-ish winning week. It wasn't even that big. It was just a decent winning week at about 6+ units to start the year, right? And boy, did I pay for that. So with this one, UFC Vegas 91, we're going to be recapping here. Plus 2.72 units. So hopefully that means, I'll only, get reverse sweep, maybe 3 times instead of 4. We'll, only lose, 8 weeks in a row instead of 12 now. Yeah, we'll see. But no, it was still a good night. I'm not going to complain too bad. We ended up on the winning side somehow. Again, you can, hit me up in the chat for this challenge that is evergreen, but even apropos to now, every card is kind of a controversy or whatnot, and keeping in theme, despite winning, for what it's worth, I still was on the wrong end of that. Not a huge swing for that Benitez decision, but, it would have made a difference. The one that really would have made a difference more is a round prop, which we'll get to. So let's just get this out of the way. We went 6 and 7 overall in picks. Not great. But again, that could have easily been, 8 and 5. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what you guys think the controversy is. The only other decision that seemed to be controversial, I don't know if because a lot of bettors were on it. I wasn't on it, but I picked this side. So again, even when I'm not on it, I still picked the wrong stuff. So it affects me one way or another, seemingly. For whatever that's worth, but that was, of course, the Figlac and whatever decision Hubbard. I did say Hubbard was live in this breakdown, but I'm not bumping my chest because I picked Figlac, and I really didn't watch it too closely to have an opinion on it. We went 1 and 2 in straight plays, 0 and 1 in props, 3 for 5 in round flyers, which is always good. Should have been a little better, but as you guys know, they're tending to nerf the dynamic that even my losing ass has been hitting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was joking with a friend the other week, and I was sharing you guys that anecdotal story of, like, someone asked my round props. I'm like, no, I'm not. As bad as I'm doing, as much as I'm complaining, I'm not giving up those because the dynamic in which I play those fading first-round finishers tends to work out pretty well. And that dynamic went through, but the odds makers are kind of nerfing on those a bit. We went 1 and 5 in the round robins, which was also painful, which meant we went 0 and 1 for the long shot parlay. We did do a hedge round robin because I did follow through what I said in last week's breakdown, where you get a degenerate card like UFC Vegas 91, you best play it like a degenerate, and just kind of sprinkle round robins across the board, at least for me and my style. And we went 1 for 4 in the hedge round robin. So just one either way, would have paid those off, but again, we still made out overall. But those were Lahu Zahers, and as far as the matchups go, we had Alex Perez, of course, at the top, beating Mateusz Nicolau. That made me feel great because again, Perez, one of those guys who I've been real high on as well. So when you see these guys do well, they don't even get to the championships or win the belt, so to speak, but like, going through, 3 years of crap and just, back to the complaints from the chat about MMA gambling Twitter. It's just like, oh yeah, MMA gambling Twitter is, like I said last week, the worst. They're like, oh yeah, he's fried. Like, you make it to fight night, this and that. And I'm like, yo, I don't know about you, but I feel like Nicolau is actually the more fragile one. And, people, someone commented, and my guy Nushan, shout outs to the MMA Analysis, by the way. I'm going to shout them later for a nickname. It was saying, to be fair, that I think a lot of these people were speaking, about Perez and his failure to make the fight and this and that. I'm like, yeah, that is true, but we're not. I mean, they are putting odds now apparently on whether a fighter will make weight, and you can bet on that. But we're not gambling. We're not doing breakdowns on how and if a fighter will make a fight. No, we are focusing, whether we're fans, whether we're gamblers, whether we're analysis, whether we're pundits, whether we're media covering this thing, even though more attention seems to be outside of the octagon. Needless to say, we're here for the stuff that happens inside the octagon. And the more durable person inside the octagon was Alex Perez. The person who has skills inside of the octagon is Alex Perez, if you were paying attention. So seeing everybody just write him off was just, chef kiss, it was kind of just like, I don't like to get vulgar and stuff, especially like, printing curse words, but I couldn't help it, man. Put some fucking respect, stop talking shit on this fucking guy, like whatever I said, like whatever it was deserved, man, because just the strays that guy was catching, And, I don't follow people close enough. I just kind of see what comes across my timeline. I don't listen to too many shows. Most of the shows I do, everyone's pretty funny. If they're not respectful, they're at least funny and well-meaning, right? Or whatever. So I don't know how much there is that, I'm going to hear of any, like, tail tucking or whatever, so to speak. But, like, I imagine, I'm speaking in very generalities here, if that's even a fucking word. But, yeah, MMA betting Twitter was just, I imagine they lost out on that with the amount of just shit I've seen, heard, known about Perez getting trash talked unfairly for 3 years. Because again, that like Alex Perez says, like, you guys think I get paid for sitting on the couch? Like, you think I want this? Like, well, but hey, any excuse, any opportunity, can't pass up any opportunity to kick someone while they're down, right? Especially someone out there trying to do stuff that we aren't doing, don't have the balls to do, can't do. Any and or all of those things combined, or any combination. Take your pick. Yeah, let's kick them while they're down. Yeah, instead of rooting for them to have these moments. I hope Nicolau's okay, by the way. That was actually a really crushing loss for him, which is a bummer. But yes, round 2 knockout. You guys know me. I'm a big fan of the late round flyers, 3, 4, and 5s. Any excuses to play those if possible. But again, as much as I love playing late round fighter, late round this, late round that dynamic. This was just kind of the read I had, and then that was the read, the small cage. As I always incorporate my analysis, someone asks, like, do you incorporate the cage? I'm like, yeah, every time. And you were smart to incorporate it in this one because it did help the corralling nature of Alex Perez's game. So that felt great. It sucked that, as per normal, like, and this is probably like most people's experience. I'm being dramatic here, of course. It's just, again, it's more just the disproportionate amount I'm speaking to, the long, steady, dry, cold streaks I'm speaking to. But most people have to sweat the whole card in order to find out if they have profit or not, usually, for the most part, right? I'm just like, I'm just not just in need and of wins and wanting those wins and whatnot to make up for all the crap nights and gyps and all the other jangles and whatever you want to characterize it as. It's like, can I just, like, get one of those nights where I don't gotta, like, sweat to the co-main event, like the sweaty bastard that I am? That would be sweet. Co-main event, if you want to call it that. Bogdan Guskov defeated Ryan Spann via strikes. I was barely even watching this one. I just wasn't surprised. Like, as soon as round 1 was over, I was like, yeah, I don't trust Ryan Spann to do it. Not that I trusted him hard, but again, they're going to put these in co-main event slots. Dan Tom's going to have to write about them. And if I write about them and make bets on it, that I'm going to stick to my word, as degenerate as it is. So, thankfully, it was only a half-unit exposure. That's all that fight was worth at max. Congrats on you if you cashed on Guskov. Happy for Guskov. But yeah, that was just like, I was also at that mode too where I was just expecting a loss at this point. Like, that's why I was like, again, forgive me for being dramatic or catastrophizing, although hopefully you can forgive me because, again, the said streak, right? But like, yeah, like, to get in a little my head for like losing nets and how it is, like, when I'm getting my ass kicked really bad, like, I don't even like watch the fights anymore. Like, I'll usually be like on my, got like my dresser with like my records and some other things on there, and like be like have my phone on there, just be like kind of like I'll be like my back will be to the TV, I don't know. It's like when they're introducing less badass, or not badass at all, of course, but like a Wolverine when he's being introduced in the original X-Men film '99. Like, I just couldn't even care that there's a fight about to happen. Just my back is to it. Like, that's how, like, beat down I usually am. So I barely watched that co-main event. Karine Silva defeated Ariane Lipski, or now Ariana de Silva. I didn't watch much of this either. Again, kind of the same thing. Was just kind of checked out at this point. Jonathan Denise defeated Austin Lane. This was a classic where I was just like, damn. Just like, it was like the other day where I was just like, shout out to my guy, on the Still Friends show, Justin Hong, and he clipped some things, and one of the things was like John Jones, and I'm like, man, am I going hard on John Jones? Am I going too hard on this guy? Like, I know he's not the greatest dude in the world, but like, you gotta give credit where credit's due, Dan. And not that you don't, but like, you're probably just going a little too hard the other way though with the other stuff though, right? Maybe you should be a little nicer, right. And then I do that, and then like John Jones or whatever, I can't keep track, whatever recent offense like that literally happened right after I did that. I'm like, and then I'm like, I go hard again, and I'm like, I need to stop being hard on things, the football thing, It's not like I have anything against the sport. I actually appreciate the sport, even though I'm not crazy about it. A lot of friends that like it. I don't want to offend them and their interests. They've played and dedicated their lives to it, and I absolutely respect that. So I don't want to disrespect that, right? Like I said, there's guys like that actually apply football in ways that are applicable to MMA, like Eric Nixick's of the world. Not the way you would think about it conventionally, because he's a coach, right? But you know, giving credit where credit's due. Like, Dan, maybe just take it easy on the football thing. Like, we get it. And then, like, some, you know, Austin Lane goes in there. And even though I'm, like, kind of half watching, and he's not doing much, and Denise definitely ain't doing much from his back, I'm like, let me give this guy credit. You know, I'm kind of an asshole. Let me give this guy credit. And I'm like, oh, no, wait. He comes out in the second round and just gassed from his own success, and then gets knocked out. Like, I hope he's okay, by the way. But you know, kind of hilariously, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Jinxed him. Just when I'm, you know, trying to be nice and recorrect the steering wheel there, back the other way. David Onama defeated Jonathan Pierce via unanimous decision. Judges got this one right, unanimous. I had a little bit of Jonathan Pierce in decision, but it was only like, what was it, like a unit or a half unit, or something, like it was like 1 unit. But I would have been able to make that back, because again, and you guys proof on the show, I'm not just saying it. The plan, the only live betting plan, was to bet Onama live, just to get a stupid number. Unfortunately, Jonathan Pierce wasn't as dominant, at least in the very first round. Even though I picked him to win by decision, the only close thing to a certainty in my mind, which I was wrong on, because it was very competitive, right? So we didn't get a crazy plus money, and I knew that was kind of out the window. But I also had a feeling that, like, okay, now I have a feeling that also my decision is probably going to be out the window, because I could see where this fight's trending. Let me buy in now or never, even if it's chalk. And you know me, even though it's live, I still have the same rules. I don't really like to buy chalk unless it's minus 150 or under. And it was like minus 117, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. But as I'm buying, I had it ready and loaded up before the round end, and was already had my amount in and was firing before / as the round's ending. And even then, and I have, like, you know, for whatever it's worth, like, you know, I don't know if they still do T3 connections or anything weird, like, commercial-wise. I don't have anything like that fancy, folks. But, like, as far as, like, you know, the best internet you could buy from your local provider, I do have that for whatever it's worth, too, for my job and doing streams like this. And even then, I knew with my luck, as you guys know, not just in general, not just with MMA, but specifically what we're talking about, live betting, terrible. It's the reason why I only have one career live bet. Went to try to make it 2 as best I could. Knew they were going to screw me from that 117. They jumped me to like 149, which I'm like, that's still under 150. I'll take it, you bastards. And, you know, I'll just put 1.5. My 1.5 that I already had plugged in would still buy me my unit back. So I'm winning kind of either way here, right? And then sure enough, it jumps me up to minus 179 or some shit like that. And it wasn't that much over the minus 150. But out of principle, 3 jumps when I'm ready trying to fire, and I already get the worst numbers, like, then I see everybody else posting as is. That makes me not. It's another reason why I barely have any live bets, because I don't even want to go up to bat with the disrespectful shit they're offering me at my houses. And when I do anyways, I still can't even get the number. I still can't even get in. And sure enough, there went the window. So that was really upsetting. Because that wasn't just like, oh, well, it was me live betting. Oh, I missed an opportunistic. Like, no, that was planned. And it didn't go as planned. And I was getting the worst end of the plan. And I was still willing to do that, which is payment enough. They wouldn't even let me pay that, would they? So that was kind of annoying. Even though, again, it wouldn't have mattered. It still was a winning night. I would have been, 3.72 instead of, you know, again, the real swing is coming later. But just to put it in perspective, like, even in my winning nights, I still have to sweat to the end. I'm still getting fucked on the live numbers. I'm still getting the wrong end on the controversial decisions. Like, I'm not making this stuff up, folks. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm grateful. I'm just saying this it does constantly happen. I'm just pointing it out. That's all. Euros Medic defeated Tim Means via TKO strikes. This was just an honest L. This was something that, you know, I knew I was walking into. You knew it was a possibility. I even cited, like, the Nico Price fights, and the last times he's been really knocked out and abruptly like this. And he was, you know, it was a really nice shot, and he was, you know, it wasn't a lucky shot, because he really was giving that read to Euros Medic for the uppercut. So, you know, honest L. Something like after the fact, it was like, those are the worst people and stuff. They're just like, it it was weird. I went to their replies and they didn't reply to anybody all night, but they replied to multiple accounts on anybody who bet Tim Means. It was just like, okay, just waiting for his moment to spring. And being that specific, I was like, "Where's your Euros Medic slip, buddy?" "Oh, I can't bet from my state." Oh, okay. Yeah, people are funny like that. But that was an honest L, and I honestly don't mind ones like those because I just feel bad for Means, obviously, because it sucks because somebody tweeted, it's like, again, for the deserving, like, Medic would have been able to bounce back from this if he would have been able to take the L. Whereas, like, Means, man, this is like, does he get cut now? Does he get not another opportunity? Like, he's like tries to be, again, he doesn't pay to be the company man, but Tim Means, for what it's worth, is a damn company man. He's one of the only few people that's still trying to like defend these Apex cards, saying, not so much defend them, but it's like he's like, hey, well, we show up. Like, he takes pride in it. He takes pride in his fucking work, And he's a guy that should have been, on main card or in front of crowds, getting the interview opportunities, but no, man, they bury him or they bring him out for these fights where they serve him up, you know what I'm saying? So he really doesn't get an opportunity too much to talk to people for post-fight interviews, to interact with the crowd, and this guy deserves it. That's what he's designed to do. So that just made an extra layer of sadness. And then what adds to the top of that is that the guy who wins, I'm actually more concerned for the guy who wins than the guy who lost that that got knocked the F out, which was Means. I'm actually more concerned for Medic because, as a dude who, struggles with some inner demons and emotions. Speaking of that, let's take a Hawaiian sun break. Wow, Hawaiian sun. When you're talking about your depressing demons, have a Hawaiian sun. Cheers, folks. Just a little tropical iced tea for a tropical card. Is that racist? I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, I was like, dude, what's going on with Medic? Like, is he okay? Someone check in on him, man. Like, So, I don't know, man. I hope both guys are okay. How about that? Victor Henry defeated, hey, it's me, honey, hi, everybody. It doesn't even sound like that, but I'm just going to keep that alive in my head. That was nice. We got the round 3, which was a part of our actual round robin, which hit. By the way, Medic's round 1 was in the hedge round robin, so that hit as well. Unfortunately, nothing else in the hedge round robin hit, which was Yaya. Of course, he lost here. Liang round 1, she went for it as she always did, and Nicolau sub, which didn't hit, which was good because it didn't pay, even with that round robin, it wouldn't have paid as much as the Perez money line Perez round 2 KO hit. So that's completely fine. But yeah, that round 3 for Victor Henry was nice. I know the price was turning people down. I get it, but that's, again, they've nerfed this dynamic for a reason, because I know I'm not the only one. I'm not like some lone genius or something over here, folks. It's not that hard to figure out if a loser like me can pick up on this trend. Certainly the bookmakers have as well, right? So yeah, you're not getting the greatest numbers. I was able to get up to like plus 900s, but it was like plus 700, plus 750 for that bad boy. Austin Hubbard defeated Figulek. Like I said, didn't watch that, can't tell you. Dante Mays defeated Kyle Machado. I wasn't on Machado, but I did pick Machado for what it's worth. So, if you want to consider those bigger, R words, which I don't use that word, and I wouldn't use it here, but controversial decisions, fair to say. I guess I was still on the wrong end of those in some way or some shape or form, albeit I didn't bet those for what that's worth. So, yay, me? I don't know. Caitlin D'Souza defeated Marnik Man. That was pretty clear. Just more like kind of bad on Souza. Bad luck from what I remember, not being able to finish that fight. And I'm sure inside the distance bettors were pretty upset with that. So my commiserations and sympathies with you. Chris Padilla upset local guy, got the upset over James Yontop via submission rear naked choke. So Yontop, I don't, again, I mentioned this before. This isn't speaking too out of school, and I'll leave it vague because I didn't even mention it on the podcast, so I have no right to go bump my chest. And I don't have the information and dates like right in front of me to be like specific with it. But I have mentioned this before, both in general, again, talking shit on fighters, like, and then not knowing their stories and stuff, fighters on losing streaks and whatnot. And, Yontop, despite, people, talking crap on my guy Janes there for gambling on his purse, people are like, oh, Yontop's got a win over Janes and, UFC vet and stuff, which is impressive, obviously. I'm not saying it's not, but it's just saying how fickle people are. It's like, oh, wait, I thought this guy went and shit or whatever. And people don't realize like a lot of those things were different jumping weight classes, last minute, health issues that, my guy never talked about and made any of those excuses. But we all know that, and I mentioned it before, after his UFC run was done and he didn't have anything on the books and it's pretty public was going in for that surgery. But yeah, like, James was dealing with neck issues, and I'm not gonna speak for him. I'll just leave it at that because I've said that before, and he's made that public. But it's like, it's all the more reason why it's like you got to be careful about again writing these fighters off on certain streaks. It's just like oftentimes it's either not as bad as it looks, or if it is bad, there's usually a reason for it. You know what I'm saying? It's not just because like, oh, this person shucks my ass or something like that. Like no, like my dude James is like back looking in great shape, kicking ass, doing great recently. But and who knows, maybe Yontov had something to do, he was dealing with something, and this is a last minute change. So, I mean, who knows what was going on with this fight, but when I saw that, I was just like, I wonder how many people saw that, he had the victory over James and was just like, oh, and then maybe overcorrected the steering wheel, maybe got caught speeding on the chalk number. Not that I'm wishing that, or I'm dancing in anybody's, reveling in anybody's loss or anything. I couldn't help but see that because that was a big favor that lost. Ivana Petrovic defeated Liang Na via submission arm triangle choke. This wasn't like a bad beat or anything like that. This was just more one of those things where it's just like, man, whether it's like Marina Moroz tapping out of the last second or someone tapping out of the last second, because I've been at the wrong end of multiple of those. Fights being ended prematurely or the round not going long enough, and if it just went like a couple seconds longer, I feel like I'm on those quite a lot too, and this was it here. Kind of thing. It wasn't like it should have been stopped in round 2, but it just was more like, from what I recall, I didn't go rewatch it, granted, but it seemed like one of those things where like if we had maybe like 5 more seconds on the clock or so on that round 2, we get the round 2 stoppage. Now round 3 pays better than round 2. However, round 3 wasn't in the round robin. Round 2 was in the round robin, right? And if round 2, which was like plus 350, gets matched up with that plus 750 or whatever it was from the round 3 with Victor Henry, I think that was $633 alone, plus the 17U that you get back on it. That's $650, right? Plus the round 2, plus the that, and then you add in, you go down to the last fight. Mahashate defeated Benitez, a split decision again. Southpaw counterpuncher. I will say Mahashate did seem to work the body more than Benitez, and he got the win. So ironically, it's like I can't talk shit about that, but like most people. Even people that are the worst winners, not saying the worst winners personally, but I'm just saying these people weren't. But in general, the worst winners are MMA gambling in general. I'm not talking about all you guys. Relax. In general, right? And I'll see MMA gamblers, and shouts to y'all. Y'all are good winners. We're being like, dude, I bet Mahashate, and I don't think I won that fight. Like, that's a good winner right there. But when you see that from MMA gambling Twitter, it really could have gone the other way. So, I mean, that alone, those 2 fights alone are over $1,000 swing. So I'm happy to finally get a win after 12 event losing streak. Don't get me wrong, folks. But man, these being this close on these $1,000 swings, which is a norm for me, and or having it related to being on the wrong end of the controversial moments, cards, whatever, what have you. No one does it better, folks. No one does it better. All right, that was kind of long on the recap. I'm going to go to the chat. We'll get this fights broken down. 28. 58 or something like that. Let's go chat. Recap my chicken scratch that I won't be able to write later. Goofy movie. Aaron Menard, what's up, buddy? What's up, boo? Dapper Man Dan Tom. Yeah, for the pay-per-view weeks, folks, this is my uniform for the pay-per-view weeks. Try to look like an adult over here. Jimmy Kudo, winning week, congrats, but why the air quotes and the hesitation? Oh, I guess maybe, hopefully I explained why, I guess. But yeah, I just can't get too excited there. James Kendrick, as long as we keep the same energy, win or lose, right? It's volatile, random nonsense always happens. Absolutely, yeah. Can't get too high, can't get too low. Although, I could be a little higher and kinder to myself, though. That is a fair criticism that is out there. Phantom Punch breakdowns. My guy goes Phantom. Here's the trivia thing about Alex Perez. He was working with Syndicate's wrestling coach, Billy Bigelow, who has worked with the Hickman Bros and, of course, Wei Lee. I saw him around the PI. Oh, nice. I didn't make that connection. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Ghost. Another reason why I'm glad to have you here, man. Rio says in Truesdale, it's good to always hope someone is okay after getting brutally knocked out. Is it good to always? I mean, yeah, it is. And I feel like, despite no one ever doing that, so I shouldn't feel bad about not doing it. I usually am actually pretty good about doing it, and I haven't been doing it as much lately, so I want to make sure I'm sending the good vibes to those who've been stopped for our entertainment. James Kendrick is someone who doesn't know anything about betting. Why is minus 150 the magic number for chalk for yourself? Just because I don't want to pay too much more than that. Essentially, minus 150 means I have to go to the counter with $150 if I want to make $100 back. If it was minus 200, I have to go to the counter with $200 just to make half that amount, the $100 back. So as you see the number gets higher, the more you have to risk for what's ultimately the same return. So it gets really risky in a volatile sport like this. So 150, I mean, I got to be really it's got to be, we'll talk about it here in a second, when I lay one of my biggest chalk bets recently was Pantoja over Royval, and Pantoja was minus 190 over Royval. Right? Dan, are you going to do it? Oh, wait until next time on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Sorry, but, it's got to be something like that. And even that, I was like, I feel like I'm disrespecting Brener-Orolbai here as much as I love Pantoja. And much as I came out on the winning side of it, I had to sweat my ass off. Yeah. I still wasn't even that comfortable doing it, point in case, right? Ray and Lamina, what's the drink you're enjoying? This is, the Hawaiian Sun Tropical Iced Tea. Just a little, hello there. Fancy sugar water. James Kendrick, is it possible to parlay and round robin, or do you have to do one or the other? You have to do one or the other. Some houses, if they have a nice design, they let you do them kind of both at the same time on the same page, but they're sectioned off as separate bets, which is kind of annoying. So if they don't let you keep in the slip, or they don't give you the dual options to kind of just make multiple plays as you go, it's essentially a separate play. So you pick if you wanted to pick 4 selections to round robin, you pick those 4 selections, or 5, right? That's how I do. I go either 4 or 5, depending on the odds. But if I want to parlay all those and be like a real madman, I got to go back through the app and reselect those individual methods or money lines or whatever I'm playing. And then, click the parlay option and kind of do it manually. Some sites they make it a little easier. They can kind of, you just click it once and it'll let you do a bunch of different things with it. But even with those sites, it still constitutes as technically a separate bet. James Kendrick, MMA betting community are also the worst losers too. Yeah, that's true. Jimmy Kudo, a Dragon Ball Z reference. I love it. That's right. Go on. Piccolo the pedophile. Dan, what version of Dragon Ball Z did you watch? Listen, he's kidnapping a kid Gohan, and he's leaving him naked on a mountain. Need I say more? Okay, we don't need to get into the Dragon Ball Z stuff. All right, 32-47. Let's go 33. Scottie Pippen. UFC 301. UFC 301. Pantoja versus Erceg. UFC 301 Brazil. It's always UFC. All right. Top to bottom, we're going to go through this as per usual. A lot of these are going to be fast, hopefully, because it's a long card. And I only did in-depth on a handful of matchups. But I can tell you where I'm leaning, what I'm targeting, for the most part. So we got the main event, of course. It's going to be Alexandre Pantoja defending his title, minus 185 in the neighborhood of. Come back on the challenger, Steve Erceg, plus 154. Again, is this Horiguchi versus Demetrius Johnson, a flyweight contender being rushed to market? And it's just going to be a little too much too soon? Or we quietly set up for the Max Holloway-Aldo or the TJ Dillashaw, Renan Barão, right? Type performance from Erceg. I would say by the odds you would think so, but man, no one was giving Dillashaw that much respect. They were giving Holloway this much respect, I will say. The odds were tight for Jose and Max, although Max was a dog. They are giving him as much respect to be more relevant and more direct to the person he's fighting. Pantoja, again, they're giving him the same, at least closing odds, the same respect as Brener-Orolbai, raw dog, man. Which again, I mean, I'm not saying raw dog is like Topuria or anything like that, but he's we say Pantoja's more proven than Erceg, Royval's more proven than Erceg as well, right? So from a numbers perspective, it's really interesting. Everyone's saying it's too much too soon. no one's giving him a chance. But I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm seeing a lot of love, both on the numbers as well as the chatter, you know? I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like, MMA gamblers love fading. I don't know. Maybe that's why, like, it's not why, even though I am a contrarian. And I do take an extra joy when not just the analysis pays off, but the good guys win. And, you know, not that you're bad for taking shots against these guys or, you know, this or that or anything like that. It's not that. It's not that serious, folks. Let's relax here. But at the same time, yeah, I'm not going to lie. It does feel extra good when it's like you see guys get unfair shake, like the Alex Perez thing, and they come through and you're on them. And, you know, yeah, it's great, right? But, man, I don't know what it is. Like, you saw it with Hill, too, versus Poatan. And, again, just so happens, like, two of my favorite champs, my favorite fighters happen to be champions, which is great. I'm super grateful for that right now. Like, as painful and depressing as MMA has been for me, for, like, you know, gambling and grind reasons, like, as a fan, like, oh, my God, I'm so grateful. I'm so happy, like, that I've gotten to see guys like Bronx get to the title, Pantoja, you know, put on the performances he has. And to be on the right side of history on those two, even better. And Poatan as well, you know. For the most part, minus the one fight in the series that he lost to Adesanya. He's been making me plenty of money, even before his Adesanya series, with the round twos for Strickland, the round twos for, you know, I've been telling you, these kickboxers, round twos, you know, I've been cashing well on those. And I don't know if it's just like, because MMA gamblers, like, you know, whether it's like they hate the Brazilian war horses, they hate the old, we all know they hate older guys and stuff. And Pantoja, at least for flyweight, he's older, he's got miles on him. There's no denying that. He's not the magic 35 number, but he's close at 34, right? I believe, with some miles to boot. But it almost feels like everybody's like trying to make their money back, and I get that, you know. Plenty of gamblers I've respected floated those theories before. I myself have fallen prey to that, where I'm like, I'm going to make it back on this person. This is the time. Even though I really don't have that attitude, and if anything, you guys that know me, I actually am very cautious and call that out. Even amongst myself, where I'm like, I'm very nervous because this is the total spot where you would think that I'd be trying to get my revenge here, and I'm really trying not. I really was trying not to bet this guy. Just this is where the analysis is pointing me. I promise it's not personal, right? Like, I try to go out of my way to not fall into that trapping, but at the same time, I'm no better. So don't take it personal when I'm saying this. A lot of these things I call out, I'm guilty of too. But man, does it seem like people just have like a personal vendetta, and they're just trying to like get their money back on Pantoja because they're mad because he won his last two or something. Because the guy's just been, you know, whether he's an underdog or whether he's a favorite, he's just criminally underrated, criminally disrespected. You know, fight of the year, no question. The fact that people actually have to think about fight of the year, and some people had the audacity to not even have that as the fight of the year or mention it amongst their options, was just gross. All my fighter of the year takes for why Pantoja should have got it have only aged well, by the way. If you look at, you know where most outlets and stuff went, you know, Pantoja's out here just, you know, being a people's champion, you know, family man, good hardworking fighter, taking the long road there, putting on entertaining fights. Yeah, it's just, it's kind of crazy when you think about it from that perspective. That being said, I really do like Erceg's game. And whether it's an admitted vibes thing and the vibes are just that strong, and or you're like an analytical nerd like myself or my fellow analytical nerd friends, and you're able to pick out things of Erceg's game that you like I get that. You know, maybe that makes a little more sense. But even then, I don't know, man. The odds still feel a little tight. And believe me, flyweight fights are volatile. I talk about this all the time. Not like heavyweight fights, but almost more like women's MMA fights in the sense that you're not going to get a finish. You're going to get a lot of information going at the judges to decipher, and that alone is going to make it very volatile. A lot of information at a fast pace. Even if it's not, you know, the most cleanest with some of the ladies, you know, it could be not the most cleanest with Pantoja as well. Pantoja hits hard as fuck, granted, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, still, it's not the easiest fights to adjudicate, right? Like, I'm able to make justifications for Moreno or for Pantoja 49-46 against Moreno or 48-47 against Moreno. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie and say that, those weren't competitive fights, and I couldn't see how judges could end up on the other way on some rounds on the live watch, right? When you don't have the benefit of the doubt to go back through like I have. So I get it, man. But yeah, so this one is weird, though. So I'm somebody that not just picked Pantoja to beat Moreno, but I actually picked him by decision. For everybody like trashing his gas tank before that fight, they had more of a reason to trash his gas tank after that fight, and perhaps they have even more of a reason to trash his gas tank after his latest fight against Royval. But for what it's worth, despite all those, I did call him to win by decision because, it seems kind of crazy to compare him to a guy in the card in Jose Aldo, because Aldo is so much more cleaner, not as aggressive. So many differences from those aspects. But in the sense of they need their pockets to recoup, they're both athletes that need their pockets to recoup. That very much is the same. Aldo never had to get as wild and learned his lessons without having to get as wild as a Pantoja. They're different stylistically from that aspect, but I'm just talking about their physical constitution for the cardio. That's all I'm really comparing here. They both need their pockets to recoup and recover. Even Aldo, who we'll talk about, who is not as not as vulnerable to that because he's just so veteran. He's so good at managing himself, not overextending himself more than he needs to, unless people can force that out of him, etc. And the ironic part here is that even though you'd like to see Pantoja, clean up that pace a little more, it was a little more forgivable in the Moreno fight, not just because that was his first time he ended up having to go 5 rounds, but he fucked up Moreno really bad right early on, and you could see why, he thought maybe he could have got him out of there. He got him out of there before. And even though he also got Royval out of there before and was going with that same intention and rocked him a couple times, it was arguably still almost more troublesome that he was getting so tired. Now, thankfully, he could just change his levels and grapple. Pantoja's become a better counter fighter for when he needs to get, breaks. He'll sit back. He'll scoop the legs, kick the legs, look for his counter punch, counter combination into a takedown. Get the back, get the takedown, whatever, and kind of rest from those positions. And the ironic part is the reckless Pantoja, the aggressive Pantoja, I think will be better here to make it ugly. Shout out to my guy Fenyo because he's got some great gifs going around that I used a bunch of his gifs for my breakdown article that's going to be dropping on Junkie because it illustrated a lot of the points and reads that I also had as well, just so well. And you see it in the a more poor man's version, Alessandro Costa fight against Steve Erceg, whether he's pushing him with the counter right hands and leg kicks or the shuck by body lock. Not so much a shuck by. He doesn't do the shuck by. He actually does he does an outside reap and kind of bows for the finish and collapses on him. Something that Pantoja can and can do as well. He's just really good from the body lock. And Erceg is really good from front headlock. Like he had that weird opportunistic submission on what's his name, where he thinks he's okay and it's like he ends up getting him still. But yeah, he does a lot of the stuff from a front headlock. I think I'm referencing one of Erceg's regional fights too now. So apologies. The name's not coming to mind. But the guy's really good from a front headlock and whatnot. That's definitely his strong spot. He's really good to scramble toward the back as well. But again, that's Pantoja's bread and butter. Even the few fighters that have gotten there, they haven't really gotten there for long. Even competitive fights with Moreno and Askarov, you go back and look at those, and regardless of what you think of the scores, and I honestly, still think there's even an argument for Pantoja for the Askarov when he just fought both weird and really dumb. As far as he was both aggressive but also making poor, more dangerous gambles with tactical choices. As far as going for submissions rather than using the leg works to get up and create scrambles like he normally does. Sorry, that is the chair squeaking. Me, I'd probably just blame it on the dog if it was me. But yeah, so that was a weird fight, and that was 4 years ago or whatever. That being said, again, that's been the traditional outside of the counters of Figueiredo, trying to detach his head. That's typically how Pantoja's lost. Dustin Ortiz and Askarov fighters that can scramble and hold the pace and kind of play it safe with him. Now, Erceg, to his credit, we saw in the Costa fight after he gets rocked from Costa hitting the counter on him, right, making it ugly back to that previous point I was drawing and the parallels with Costa and Pantoja. You see him make and Erceg will do this. He will make adjustments on the fly. He gets hit with leg kicks early, kind of like Max Holloway, and his leg shows it even worse than Holloway, obviously, his complexion there, but he doesn't seem to be bothered like Max Holloway. And furthermore, he does seem to build off it, right? So he gets better as the fights go on. He adjusts on the fly, and he'll adjust between rounds too. And you see that third round, it's really boring, but he goes clinch mode against the cage, right? To neutralize. And would you really be surprised if he did that? I wouldn't. However, I think that's going to be harder to do with not just the bigger octagon, but looking at their clinch tactics. It's interesting because you think that the knees are going to be dangerous. And the same thing with Royval, because Royval's really good with his knees, the height parity. But if you look at it, and I said this with the Pantoja breakdown for Royval, and this proved to be true because of all things, he really got hit with the knees, weren't really too much of a trouble. Pantoja's got a really good radar for knees, completely different fighter than Peter Yan. Not as smooth or savvy as Peter Yan, but same thing with Peter Yan for a guy who just he's got a lot of crouch, he's got a lot of level change, and he's already short for the division. You're like, oh, this guy's going to get fucked up by anybody who just even thinks about throwing a knee. And Peter Yan's got a strangely good radar to knees, right? We if you doubted that, you kind of doubted that less after a Sandhagen fight, right? As good as that was, right? Pantoja's got a good radar for that, and maybe he's got a good radar for that because he's actually really good at throwing knees. He's got really good body strikes. He's got really good body kicks. I don't know why DC is coming to mind, but he almost reminds me of DC as far as a small pressure fighter who is known for his grappling and punching his way on the inside. But DC had a really underrated leg kicks and body kicks, and I remember you saw that a lot. And you don't really remember it because of what happens to him / it ends up being Jones's best performance. But he actually does really good leg and body kicks, I believe, the first rounds of the second Jones fight, right? And Pantoja is one of those fighters, kind of the same thing, where you don't really remember it. You're like, oh yeah, that's right, this guy's a Muay Thai guy, and he can throw really good kicks. Hopefully he reminded us all that with even with that Royval fight, just being able to take the base out from under him. And you see that. Again with Erceg, even though Erceg can adjust on the fly, those things are going to be there for him. Counters from Erceg keeping his head upright because he does kind of have that bit of that tall guy syndrome defense there, right? His head doesn't really get off the line too crazily. He doesn't really roll under his crosses too much or anything like that. He really can be caught upright and again be caught up, more in the first two rounds generally than anything. That's also where he gets a lot of his finishes too, granted, but that is where, he's going to get caught more, which makes sense if he is the archetype that I suspect, a more building archetype. So even though I question the odds, and for me, not that Erceg can't win, it does feel like an easy pick for Pantoja. I'm going to retweet while we're on the main card here. There we go. Sorry. Not that Erceg can't win, but it does feel like an easy pick. However, I will say that unlike, even though I'm questioning why he's getting comparative odds to Royval per se, and Pantoja, say what you will about how he looked, he did pass the test of a cardio machine like Royval by decision for what that's worth, right? I will say, despite me being a Pantoja stan, picking him here, I will say that Erceg, I think, is going to be much more livelier in the later rounds than both Moreno and Royval were with his style. I don't think he's going to let Pantoja off the hook as easy unless his wrestling really is. If they're really, I'm already picking him to because he hasn't faced wrestlers, much less, even though Alessandro Costa's a black belt. Not all black belts are considered equal. I mean, look at how Pantoja's treated some black belts before in the past, just ragdolled some people, right? So on the floor, on the feet, you know what I'm saying? It's MMA as well. So that almost doesn't matter. Erceg's got a jiu-jitsu black belt. It doesn't say Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Does he have a Japanese jiu-jitsu? He's got a national gold wrestling background, but we haven't seen him, against, the high-level international MMA talent of the world, right? With the physicality of Pantoja. And Pantoja, really underrated wrestling, chaining off from the doubles, peek outs, plus his, amazing scrambling ability. That's going to be a big answer. That being said, even if he is getting washed, like I suspect, if he can survive, and Pantoja's as tired as we've seen him, then perhaps he can start defending those takedowns later on in the fight. You know what I'm saying? So again, for all those reasons, I believe that Erceg... Oh, dog's having nightmares there. I believe that Erceg is going to be livelier for a finish, and in those... I know Pantoja's never been finished either, so believe me, for being all about my guy and criticizing the numbers and criticizing the MMA gambling Twitter hype or MMA Twitter hype, like, I get it. I think he's actually livelier. In fact... even though I'm actually going to play, I'm picking Pantoja by second round submission, because even though his knockout's going to be live, and I picked knockout last time, and to my defense, like, the counter right hand, he had Royval like wobbly legged a couple times in that fight. Most people were either picking Royval or Pantoja, to submit him again, not so much a knockout, right? So, like, a knockout could be live here. I mean, we don't know how... Erceg has a decent chin, but, again, how much has he really been tested by that, too? He was hurt by Alessandro Costa, who has finishes and he can throw and swings heavy and's got some pop, don't get me wrong, but, like, are you really going to be surprised if he just gets deadened and flattened by Pantoja? I know I wouldn't. That being said, the scrambling abilities to give his back, the wrestling... the shuck bias to avoid the front headlock. I don't know. I just feel like Pantoja's going to, be too strong. And I feel like Pantoja's worst sensibilities will serve him actually really good here. I worry Pantoja tries to be technical and play off the bat. But again, I don't think between the crowd, him, being so excited to be Rio, wanting to show his, one of his heroes, Jose Aldo, who he's on the card with, he can be the king of Rio too. His chance, his spotlight, Pantoja's work ethic. Again, the crowd chanting. Let's talk about like judging being swayed. Like, for me, it's more the action being swayed, both with the pressure of Brazilian fighters to perform, to the literal pressure of both fighters feeling the literal energy, to the referees, again, more than the judges here, folks. I'm talking about the judges, the referees not letting, again, and I'll talk about this with the next fight too, because whether it's the fighter I'm betting against like Erceg or the fighter I'm betting on like the next fight, even though clenching against the cage is a real possibility that can kill my bets, whether I'm betting for this fighter or against them, whether I'm picking for them or against them, what helps alleviate me from some of those worries is that we're going to have the Brazilian crowd, playing the effect. I feel like they can. I actually feel like they can affect, and we can. What is less arguable is that we can see the effect. It's more speculation if the judges were affected or we think they were affected, right? Whereas if the refs are affected, we can actually see that. We can actually see the crowd win them over to separate away from the cage. Back to the action when the crowd starts booing, right? You know what I'm saying? And by the way, the two fighters that I suspect to be clinch heavy, that could have potential clinch neutralizing games in their back pocket, they are both the non-Brazilian fighters in the top two matchups, folks. So yeah, the crowd is not going to be supporting their tactic if they go to that. Something to keep in mind. Does that guarantee it's going to be a finish, or does that guarantee one side's going to? No. But these are things to keep in mind when you are realistically trying to incorporate what the effect of the crowd is, and not just be like home court advantage. Brazilian going to win on the card no matter what happened. Which I get, but like, I just don't feel like that's very accurate. So I took Pantoja inside the distance at plus 160 for 1.5 units. And I haven't done this yet, but again, just to show my respect that I'm not completely talking trash on Erceg or Erceg supporters, he ain't crazy. In fact, and part of me, because I'm tired of having to wait to the main events, like, if there's not a bet on the main event, then I won't take it. But you get like round options, you get a lot of crazy things, you get good fighters, you get sample sizes, interests. All these things end up that I do always end up having seemingly some action on the main event. But because I'm tired of sweating things out, I'm trying like to not have my action so heavily at the end of the night. That being said, I still might have somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 units exposure to this fight because I don't want to lay the chalk for the Pan, even though I'm arguably more justified to lay the minus 190 here. I probably would be, playing 4 units alone on Pantoja at that point, right? Because that, just to win, close to 2 units there, right? In that neighborhood of. Whereas I put 1.5 inside the distance, and I can win almost double that by risking less than half of that, right? And then it also leaves me room, which I haven't done yet, but to show the respect for Erceg that I was talking about, is possible hedge on Erceg rounds 3, 4, and 5. It lets me play those round 3 and 4 and 5s, which I love. Erceg's the underdog, so you're still going to get high numbers on those. And again, even though Pantoja's never been finished, I'm a big Pantoja stan. Like, I really do believe if it gets into those later rounds, something went wrong for Pantoja, and Erceg will be able to capitalize because it would have been that he is durable enough to have survived it. Not worried about his cardio. And he is a builder who can punish and still be opportunistic and be emphatic when the moments arise. So that does worry me. So yeah, it's going to look like Pantoja, IGD, Erceg 3, 4, and 5. Even though I don't have any numbers in front of me to give you guys, one of my houses was down. I'm trying to shop around. Even though I as you guys see, proof and pudding too. Another way to make it hard on myself. I don't even like shop and like give you guys the best number. I'll have like better numbers somewhere, but like if I have the number in front of me, I'll just take the lowest number usually. I'm not trying to play that game. But I just honestly haven't really even shopped in general for Erceg numbers. But that's what I'm looking for in the main event. Probably going to put Pantoja maybe in a round robin if I need something. I don't know what. But yeah, I'm not looking to do a hedge round robin either. But that is a potential hedging play. Next fight may also have a potential hedging play. J-Mo, the Dragon. The Dragon. Jonathan Martinez, vote for Pedro, minus 142. Jose Aldo, plus 120. The comeback on Aldo. So I'm so again, like, the Erceg love I get, that makes sense. Fading the war horses, disrespecting the criminally disrespected. That's all MMA gamblers. That's MMA gamblers shit. They got fucking PhDs and merit badges and that shit, right? Well, Dan, if that's the case, why the fuck is everybody on Jose Aldo? This worries me. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of sharp people at MMA Gamblings. I try to have them on. I shout them out on the show. My friends, you guys know who you are, right? But whether you're sharp or whether you're not, I still get worried when I see the MMA gamblers on the old Brazilian war horses. I'm like, no, this isn't how it's supposed to be. It's like reverse day, It's like backwards day. Like I remember back in Junkie Radio after Verdum beat Fedor, it was like that Monday. It was like upside down Monday or whatever. I forget what Goes called it, but it was funny. Everybody who had normal shticks was just like calling in and like being the exact, because we were just so, this is how amazing MMA was and how the Ara was in the Fedor days, folks. Like we were so thrown on our ass that Fedor lost. Like everybody was like, like just calling in like we like someone just died. Like, and if you had like a shtick, like I forget, like I think this one guy was always like a big Borralho fan. This guy from Miami, like, yo dog, Borralho dog. And like I think he called in and was like, Borralho sucks. It was like, and everybody was like going against her because it just nothing made sense. Like Fedor lost, nothing makes sense anymore. I don't know how I got onto that, but yeah, I always get crazy. Yeah, that's right, backwards day, because MMA gamblers are on Aldo. So I'm like, what the heck? Now don't get me wrong, I get it. The USADA ban is there's no USADA anymore, so maybe that is kind of the wink and the nudge here. And even without that wink and the nudge, I mean, this is one of the best fighters ever. He didn't retire that long ago. He's 37. It is over 35, but he's not fighting for a title or anything, right? It's still kind of crazy now. Not only that, there's great analysis as to why, I don't know if, the MMA gamblers are sounding like my analyst friends. Maybe they're cribbing off their notes, but, Aldo is finally getting credit for leg checks, which is nice to see. How people like me screaming at the stat counters going, don't count the checks. Everybody is caught on to that. Like, this guy knows how to defend leg kicks, and in fact, he is the best in our sport at checking leg kicks in particular. And that is true. And in fact, he's gotten better. I did a rewatch, and I got the Southpaw report ready to go, folks. I got you Southpaw stats for the whole card. I just haven't had time to clip it up. I clipped it up, but I haven't had time to edit it. I was going to try to do it before this, but I decided to watch Isam-Gomi, a little bit of prelim fight that I have for you later. Sorry, I don't know what the fuck that was. But yeah, watching Aldo's career, and he actually gets better at checking leg kicks. And you look, well, Martinez is a kicker. True. But I think we're conflating that a little too much. Not just with the kicks, which is true, and dangerous to conflate him to just a kicker. Obviously, Aldo can own him at boxing range here. But saying Martinez is just a kicker, I don't know about that. And I think everybody's just focusing on the leg kicks, right? First of all, checking leg kicks from Martinez is very difficult. He's throwing them from a completely different stance on the inside. And he's throwing a variety. He's throwing inside calf, which is rare. He's also throwing inside thigh, and he's very deliberate. He's not just letting it go, and sometimes it's the calf. He's very targeted. He's very clean. He reads range very well going in and out. And he's really good at doing the step-up leg kicks as well. And he gets really good power and can actually debase people with those. He's not just like tapping them, Like, I love Cub Swanson to death, but I was like, Cub Swanson landed 30 out of 32 leg kicks on Jonathan Martinez? What the... And you go and watch it, and it's just like a bunch of taps. It was the Jackson Wing prods, and he didn't even really do Thai style too much because it was open stance, so Cub was having to do his step-up leg kick, which is not nearly as powerful as Cub's normal leg kicks, even though, Cub's more of a boxing-centric fighter, right? Especially in the latter stages of his career. Yeah, like they weren't really having much. And then when Martinez, he only had 7 kicks, but you saw the difference, right? That's another great fight to go show striking stat numbers. You're like, wait, which guy got the leg kick stoppage? The guy that threw 7 leg kicks or the guy that threw 32? No, the guy that threw 7. No, he is the one that got it. Again, that's how silly both the stats are, inaccurate, and even as accurate as, let's just say they are, let's just say all numbers are equal, which they aren't. They don't tell the story of the fight, right? And again, everybody's just focusing on the legs. And really, even in that fight where he got the leg kick stoppages, like the Swanson fight, he really didn't even throw that much to the legs. Jonathan Martinez mainly throws to the body. He throws knees to the body, throws front kicks and Thai kicks, and then he also goes up high. He's been going to the legs a lot lately because he's been getting so much success there. And, if the fighters aren't going to stop them and they're going to continue to have the boxing-centric stance like Yanez and even be afraid to switch, well, why not keep going for it? You know what I'm saying? Like, he made it just so obvious. Even Martinez was like, I didn't want to keep going for it, but it was there. Because he's such a nice guy, right? And that'll be the hilarious thing about that he wins, even though it'll be sad because it's Aldo, right? It's also going to be freaking hilarious because Jonathan Martinez's post-fight interviews are always hilarious because he's just terrified of public speaking. He's so terrified of it. So, like, him on a Brazil card in general is hilarious. And especially if he, like, and if it's a stoppage, if he stops Aldo and like breaks everybody's heart, he's like having to do a post-fight interview. Oh, it's gonna top the Mike Pyle over Ricardo Funch when Mike Pyle was the first American, and he got booed so hard that you couldn't even hear the post-fight interview. That it was essentially relegated to, I think, Brian Stan and Mike Pyle just literally laughing at each other, going, "I can't hear what you're saying. I can't hear what you're saying either." And they're just laughing at each other, and they can't hear each other. The broadcast, it's just everybody was going, "You're gonna die," and like saying like homophobic slurs in Portuguese to Mike Pyle. It was really bad, and that's probably what's gonna happen to Jonathan Martinez if he wins here. But again, will it be because of the leg kicks that everybody's zoning in on? And again, they're just saying, well, Aldo checks leg kicks. Martinez throws leg kicks. Bad matchup, right? And it could very well be. And my main bet here covers for that. Because rather than stress aside, I'm playing a total here. I'm also going to play some rounds. Maybe throw someone in a round robin. But my main play is the under. I get why it's favored to go to decision. However, you've got the crowd that's either going to raise the temperature of the fight and or adversely affect Martinez, right? And or adversely affect even if it doesn't adversely affect Martinez and he fights his game plan. Well, let's say his game plan is doing the Said Nurmagomedov thing because he's got really underrated wrestling. Martinez and a really underrated clinch game, right? And who says he doesn't do the Volkanovski? Oh, you're going to compare to Volkanovski? No, but as far as neutralizing him in the clinch. Shall I compare him to Merab? Oh, how can you compare him to Merab? They're completely different styles. Yes, but Merab did even less than Volkanovski and was still able to beat Aldo. Granted, it was an even older version, an even more post-prime version, but I already scored that fight for Aldo, and granted, I was biased because I bet him, and granted, but even when the money is gone and all that's away, looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, I still think Aldo won. It was too nip-tuck. He shouldn't have took the third round off as much as he did, but I still thought he won the first 2 rounds, and well, more so when rewatching it, I was like, wow, Merab did even less than I remember. And say what you will about Martinez in that Said Nurmagomedov fight, which I think was a more than fair decision, comes down to round 3. His submission attempt was closer. He had more strikes in general, and that coupled with the control time that he used to actually do damage, yeah, then I don't have a problem. Obviously, I was biased there with Martinez, but him doing that, could he go out and do a similar thing? It's the big cage. It's going to be a little harder. And even if he does, and Aldo will let him, and I think that'll be smart because wrestling, even in the clinch, just tires Aldo. It tired him out in his prime, right? We saw that. He would need his back to what I said, Aldo would need his pockets to recoup and recover. We saw that in his prime when he was fighting more high-paced fights to his more wars, if you will. Even the more controlled, older version of Aldo, who sees less wrestling and clinching, that tires him out too, right? Even if it's like the fight doesn't even touch the ground once, right? That can still tire him out. So even though it's not a bad tactic for winning and perhaps tiring him out, I don't know if they're going to let the whole fight contest from there. And that means it's going to be the movement and improved footwork, which Martinez has been improving his boxing. Not so much is he a better boxer than Aldo? No way, Jose. No way. Is he a devastating threat? Not necessarily, although I will say, which is apropos, Martinez has been getting a lot more comfortable and at least showing it. He hasn't had the opportunities, but he's keeping it as a constant threat for when he exits out of exchanges off of his long guard, where he's still all the way in, all the way out, where he'll go from kicking range, and he doesn't stand in boxing range too long. He uses a long guard to parlay into the clinch, right? To elbows, up elbows, knees. Very Jim Miller-son in that aspect, where the way he transitions, which is cool. Miller will box obviously much more than Martinez, but as far as the transitioning into phases go. However, if that long guard clinch isn't there, he doesn't mind stepping out to an angle, that inside angle, if you will, and for that cross counter, a la Conor McGregor style. Is he like McGregor doing it? McGregor? No. Is it as flamboyant, exaggerated, or as effective? Any of those things? No. But is he doing it more and more meaningfully and looking better with it? Yeah, because it's part and parcel with his footwork getting better, being able to circle out. A lot of these fights that he's had have been in the small cage, and he's been doing really good with his footwork with the small cage. Now he's going to have the big cage with a fighter who has been known to not really press the issue. Aldo, well, he's a veteran, man. He knows when to explode, but even those have been getting few and far between. You're seeing him want to explode at the end of the rounds to kind of air quote steal rounds or attempt to. You certainly hear Day-Day in his corner shouting for it. But again, even a less active Merab than I remember, or these other fighters, are actually taking that end of round initiative from him in later fights, which is worrying, right? Which is very worrying. Again, say what you will, the crowd's going to be on Aldo's side, and they're going to ooze and ahs for us that's true, but on a subconscious level, I got to imagine that affects the judges on some level. Sure, I won't argue that, but I think that's a bit overblown, and I think it discredits discredits the judges a bit too much there for what they're trained for and looking for. So yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. That being said, can Aldo counter kicks? If he does get into a grappling scenario, could he get Martinez's back? Absolutely, but either he's going to gas his legs out in order to just win a round and probably not finish Martinez, unless he rocks Martinez and it's like a club and sub, right? Or a club and a grounded pound mount finish, right? Unless it's that, I see him maybe at best kind of stealing around. Now maybe it's a round 3 when they're 1-1 like a Cheeto Vera thing, but I don't know if he's going to be able to dig out that round 3, and Martinez isn't going to give it up as easy as Vera did. This guy's much better defensively, both grappling and wrestling wise. Much better offensively in that aspect too, as far as wrestling, not submissions. Cheeto Vera obviously better submission, more opportunistic. But like a lot of Muay Thai strikers who learn how to grapple and wrestle, Martinez is really good ground and pound. Again, good clinch striking usually means you have pretty good ground and pound. You have good ground and pound usually means you have pretty good clinch striking because they're very similar principles. They both have to do a lot with your grip fighting, your grip awareness, and that stuff really translates. So, maybe Aldo does, whether Aldo has an uncharacteristic, because it is uncharacteristic. You say what you will about his wrestling and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're all great. When does he really apply them and use them actively? Not really much, but let's just say he does. That could actually do him worse if he doesn't finish him in that round because he either tires himself out controlling the round or gets to the back and Martinez, as he's done before and is good at doing, can turn around inside the guard and then he's on top using that ground and pound, doing damage, negating any points that, Aldo may have scored, tiring Aldo out and damaging him, which is further tiring him out more than the grappling is already tiring him out. So I think that's really risky for Aldo, the grappling. So I really think we have a striking match where either Aldo can use his vet savvy, the crowd maybe getting Martinez's head. Maybe Martinez is an Aldo fan. He's like, shout out to Dan Levy, borrow a term he uses. Maybe Jonathan Martinez. Maybe he's the kind of fighter to ask for autographs in there. Even though he's already kind of faced the vet in cups once, and even Aldo's another level. Granted, no disrespect to Cub, but yeah, maybe he gets caught, asking for an autograph in there, gets tagged. I think that's very likely. He's got that tough Mexican chin, but also we've seen him be knocked out before as well, right? By Davy Grant. And I know Davy Grant's awkward, and I don't think you should compare either fighter, Aldo to Davy Grant, because it's not that Aldo can't replicate his second round knockout with a left hook. But in the way which janky Davy Grant did it, it's not how Aldo strikes at all, right? So it's kind of hard to compare those, but it could happen. That being said, I'm going to be picking Martinez and playing the under. I think the southpaw dynamic is going to be there. I went back to read my old McGregor, UFC 194, mixedmartialanalyst.com that hosts this here breakdown, or this here show. Card now, I still don't even type that. And it was funny, and I picked McGregor to win, and it wasn't anything crazy there, Aldo, by the way, he's 3-1 against 2-1 against southpaws, right? He was 2-0 heading into that fight. Jonathan Brookins, of course, WEC fight, which I'll have in my southpaw report, and then you've got Kenny Florian, and Kenny Florian's a much more talented striker, and it was surprisingly landing a decent amount of inside leg kicks and body strikes, right? And they were all, of course, with his left leg. Because what I noticed is that, and the reason why I picked McGregor, and I didn't think it was going to be 13 seconds knockout, but I did see the left hand, because it's not just McGregor's thing, obviously, but Aldo. And I remember going over breakdowns and podcasts talking about it and writing about it. Shout out to Dan Albert. He showed that exchange with Aldo and Mendez going back and forth for the last 5 seconds of round one. And Aldo's right eye really gets messed up in that fight, and you see that left hook land early from Mendez. And really just going back through all of Aldo's fights, even where his eye didn't get really badly messed up, I would just look for doing my basic forensics. What's hitting him the most? What side? What strike? And whether it was jabs or hooks, it was a disproportionate amount of left-sided strikes that's hit Jose Aldo throughout his career. And I forgot about that. Maybe because, I haven't broke down Aldo since August of 2022, and then even before that, you look at his matchups. Pedro Munoz, more of a leg kick, right hand. Rob Dvalishvili, not really a left-sided threat. There wasn't a lot of left-sided threats, right? Much less any southpaws, right? Peter Yan, I did include in my southpaw report, albeit not a dedicated southpaw. There's a lot of information to take from there that is also congruent with my findings going all the way back from the Florian fight, mind you, which is that left-sided that side sensibility, which is often due to his defensive style, because his lead side is always ultra defensive. Again, Aldo, the reason why everybody is being so assumptuous, I'm not saying he can't or hasn't checked leg kicks. I'm not going to say he can't check leg kicks or inside leg kicks. And I'm not going to say he never has, because he has, even though I'm just citing ones, and I will show you ones in the Southpaw report, the surprising amount that he hasn't checked from that inside stance, right? It's just the fact that disproportionately, not only is he getting hit more with the left, it's because disproportionately he's always protecting better with his right. Not just with his reactions, but also with his tactical choices, right? His guard is orthodox here, so his lead side is his left here, and this side will always shell up, just like this side's always quicker to lift for a check, right? Your lead side leg is going to be getting kicked by an orthodox stance, that right leg. So left arm for punches, for the big right hands, left leg lifts for the big right leg kick. He's got a great radar for the big rights. It's the lefts that have trouble because the left leg will go up, right? It'll even go up like he's going to cross check, which is really, really much even another high level, right? And that covers the body attacks, right? Like in the Peter Yan fight. But when it comes to actually blocking those sides, that cross check was pretty damn vacant. And when it comes to blocking the aforementioned left-sided strikes that hit a disproportionate level on Aldo, if this side's shelling, what's he doing with this side often? He's parrying. He's parrying here. Ha, 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 right hand. Parry, shield, right, left. Parry, shield, right, left. Shield, parry, return. Like, it's very mechanical. Not mechanical or robotic or jank, but as far as, like, it's very, I don't want to say rote, but yeah, it's just very, it's kind of textbook, but it's just so habitual. It's so hardwired that you're getting a lot of more openings here. Maybe his vision, maybe his rabbit. There's a bunch of things that we don't know, and maybe even Aldo himself doesn't know, But just the facts are, at the end of the day, he's getting hit from that side, whether it's by punches or kicks, a whole lot more. Could, as funny, as hilarious as this sounds to even say, could Martinez, like, not in 13 seconds, but could he, maybe not get his first punch knockout, but, like, stun Aldo really bad with, like, a pull counter, like McGregor? Like, I mean, I wouldn't be that surprised at the same time, but I think it's the left-sided kicks that hurt more in this stance, because Kenny, for as much as success he had kicking in the beginning, but the back half of the fight, if you remember, there's not much I end up clipping because a lot of it turns in he's pushing Aldo against the cage. And again, and that's something that Martinez is going to have in his back pocket, whether it's a prime Aldo back when he was fighting Kenny Florian, or a less prime Aldo, fighting Rob Dvalishvili. Any of these combinations of fighters or combinations of Aldos, say what you will, even in victory or defeat, he may have won these fights, but the fact was he was still able to be put against that fence. And that's produced more losses for him than it has wins as his careers went on, obviously. So there's that. There's the left kicks, right? Left-sided strikes. But here's something else that I noticed in particular. And this really opens itself up in open stance matchups. So you've got the classic Aldo defense, right? We've got the left shield for the power rights. He's got his left check for the power leg kicks, right? He's got his palm for the jabs, right? He can go backwards. He could pivot. He pivots really well, right? And all those things. But body work is a potent two-way street, meaning Jose Aldo, not that he doesn't work the body, not that he doesn't jab the body or things like that. He will jab less in the open stance match. But what he will do is he'll work the body a lot more, and he will kick a lot more, And that was kind of the surprise. We were like, whoa, Aldo's kicking again in the Peter Yan matchup, right? And it's just like perhaps all those long, because fighters will go, like, this happened to Jim Miller, like he couldn't kick for a while, right? And then he brought it back. Like fighters that have been around for a while and that throw hard leg kicks, you mess up your legs doing that, And that was the thing with Aldo for a while when everyone was like, why doesn't Aldo throw kicks anymore? There was like a big middle stretch of his career where he wasn't throwing leg kicks. And granted, he was focused on his boxing, and he still has been focusing on his boxing in his latter parts of his career, which is something to note, by the way, because if he is coming back to fight out his contract, and he's only been boxing since he's been gone, and he's looking to go do more boxing, and even within this camp, I see more him in the specialized boxing camp, just as many posts of him in the specialized boxing camp than him in the MMA camp. Fighter skills, even within their strengths, have deteriorated. Wrestlers getting worse at wrestling. Strikers getting worse at striking. We've seen it, right? We've seen it. So you incorporate that as well. Maybe he doesn't check leg kicks as well. But back to my original point of people focusing too much on the legs. I think it's the body here. Now, Aldo opens up more to the body in these stances, like I was just saying, whether it be knees, body kicks. We saw it in the Yan fight. You see that in his early fights. You see that in his, you see that WEC. You see that early UFC. You see that later UFC, right? All these examples, not many, but the southpaw examples do span that time, and I do have clips from all those, you will see he goes more to the body. However, you will also see that he gets hit more to the body. And in fact, in general, that might be the one spot where his defense, again, for as good as it is, there are arguable disproportionate numbers that do exist within the economy of the stats that I'm tracking with my forensic research, right? Where left-sided strikes are hitting Aldo more than right-sided strikes, right? Well, body strikes is another thing, because what did I say again? We've got the left shield for the big rights up top. We've got the parries, right? We've got the left leg for the big right leg kicks. But what about midsection, right? There's not a lot for the midsection. Does he show the cross checks? Can he do the Muay Thai pass-throughs? Of course he can. Of course he's shown them. Of course he's successfully done them in fights. But if we're comparing how much he does compared to successfully defending the other levels, the body, not so much. The body, not so much. And that's where Martinez goes. That's where Aldo's been weaker, and when going back to rewatch that Jan fight, not only was that traffic open for both ways, but that's actually what hurts Aldo, which, it's obvious that he gets hurt in the body on the ground with that ground and pound, that kind of arcing waterfall shot, punch, so to speak. Pantoja does those too, which was great. That Peter Yan ground and pound. But before that, it was actually a body kick that gets Aldo's weird reaction, because he gives a weird reaction before that, and he goes to the ground really easily, if you notice that, right? It's because it's a body kick that hurts him. And, we talked about that. I think Fanyo brought up the fragility of him getting, lateral drop by Marlon Moraes. He actually gets lateral drop early in his career, too, by Jonathan Brookins, which is hilarious. It's like, maybe just the lateral drop works on Jose Aldo for some reason, but, he was obviously, it was his first cut down against Marlon Moraes. And just he didn't look as strong or feel as strong. And just a lot of fighters, whether it's their power, punching power, or more importantly, their durability and staying power, could sometimes be affected when you really cut that off of your frame. And it doesn't get any easier as you get older. He did these cuts late in his career and is still doing them late in his career. That is Jose Aldo, right? So I actually think he's going to get stopped by a body kick here in rounds 2 or 3. I'm going to do round flyers. I actually got it on Martinez. I'll probably get better numbers at the counter, but again, I just give you guys what I got here. Round 2 plus 900, round 3 plus 1300, 0.33U a piece. Because if there's a late finish that for some reason doesn't hit the under 2.5 rounds, so it's the back half of round 3, that finish will probably happen by Martinez and not Aldo, so we'll cover if we miss it in that aspect. If Aldo does get the finish, not that he can't win, not that either can't win by decision, by the way, and if you are thinking it's going to go over, I suggest you play fight ends in split majority decision, which you can get around for plus 300, and or if you feel bullish on either fighter winning by decision, bet them by split decision. That being said, I'm going the other way. You're giving me too much money, not just plus money, not just even plus 150, 2-1 for an under 2.5 in what I predict to be an action fight, both stylistically, plus the intangibles of the crowd. Give me that all day, because if Aldo wins, I do think it's going to be under that 2.5. I would be happy to be wrong, especially if I can make some money being wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I'm playing violence here. I got 1 unit on the under 2.5 rounds at plus 200. And then Martinez, round 2 and round 3, 0.33U each. So hopefully one covers the other, or maybe in a perfect world they both cash, although that'll make the Jose Aldo fan in me a very sad, even though I'm a Martinez fan as well, but not as big as I am an Aldo fan, obviously. So yeah, really long-winded, but those were the fights that were going to be long. I'm going to blow through the rest of these pretty fast here and get to you guys, because I know you guys had weighing in on the on the main event and stuff like that. Matt Pauly in the house. Let's fucking go. Thursday nights are live again. Glad to see you and that super it's me, Mario. Here. There we go. What's up, Dan? Welcome back. By the way, Matt Pauly, you like anyone in the chat? You guys like what was that, Mario Kart? My favorite was Koopa Troop. Koopa Troop, motherfucker. Koopa Troop. It's also Gerald Mearshardt's favorite character, which is probably why I'm a big GM3 fan as well. Phantom Punches. What are the chances Pantoja learns how to cut the cage with fundamental striking, like double jabs? But he did that, and he wouldn't be the Pantoja we know and love. You beat me to it, Ghost. I was going to say, that wouldn't be the Pantoja we know and love, and I think that would actually hurt him. Kind of like, and it's funny, I was rewatching that too, and I called it in my breakdown, both written and on the podcast, that, Royval's kind of trend to be fighting more technical is actually going to hurt him. And you saw that because even DC calls it, when in the he goes, man, Royval waited to the 5th round to get back to his normal game, his pressuring and volume game, and look how well he did, And granted, Pantoja was also dead tired, where he wasn't early in the fight, but granted, DC made a great point there, right? So yeah, I would say the same thing, and I can't see Pantoja doing that, to be honest. Rio says in Truesdale, do you think that Erceg looks like Steve Carell, 40-year-old version? Yeah, did you see that meme open note posted? If not, I can tag you. No, I saw it. That was great. Shout out to Will. That was great. Yeah, he does look like that, I think. Yeah. James Kendrick, what do you think of Erceg's guillotine to get butterfly hooks? Heard the Cagecraft boys with Val Dewar talk about that. I didn't catch those guys or what they said, so I can't weigh in on what they said. But as far as his guillotine or butterfly hooks, I'm guessing the way he uses it is scramble. But he uses the front headlock position in general. He's really good at it. So even though Pantoja's got really good shots, and I see him being able to get him down with the reactive shots, he is going to have to be careful, which is why I brought up the body lock point. Rain Lamina, people are questioning why Pantoja Moreno 3 as fight of the year is gross. What the fuck? Yeah, exactly. The fact that people would even question. I don't know what's gross that people would question that, or people wouldn't have that as their fight of the year. And I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm sorry. It was just way too fucking obvious. Like, what more do you want, people? Jimmy Kudo, I'm in Jack Slack's Patreon, and he said that Pantoja has the best boxing into back takes. Can be a good front headlock game. Help mitigate that. It could, unless, again, he's using those shuck buys and other things that Alessandro Costa was able to. And I don't see Pantoja giving up as much ground there. James Kendrick, do you like builders over destroyers like you mentioned on the other podcast you were on? Yeah, I typically do. Even though, like, the Petrovic, Naliang, or the Ronnie Yaya, Victor Henry were fading, the proverbial gas bags. That's not a very nice name, but you know what I mean. I think my guy Clint uses that name, so I want to shout out my guy Clint. I don't want to steal anybody's sayings here, but yeah, like that dynamic is, I love it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always a builder versus destroyer in that dynamic. But using that as a parallel to compare my biases, yeah, not that it's always hard and fast, right? Like I ended up going for the more explosive opportunists in Kareem Silva over the fighter that I was leaning toward, that had more of a process, that was more proven, more experienced than Lipsky, right? And even though it wasn't a finish, it ended up being the right pick, thankfully. So yeah, even though it's not hard and fast, I definitely lean more toward the builders. Fanyo, my guy. I can't wait to hear the full preview podcast this week. Did you get Dan Albert on, my guy Dan Albert? Please tell me so. I gotta have some Dan Albert fix as well. Pantoja, an underrated kicker, Fenyo says. He says he kicked Moreno to pieces in that second fight. Yep, and the leg kick stopped the momentum of Royal in the title fight in 5th round. Absolutely. I'm glad. Okay, I feel a lot less crazy. My guy Fenyo is sounding off on the kicking notes as well. Ghost Phantom, Pantoja also has the coolest crab rides. Yeah, he does. Excellent influential insteps on those crab rides. Jack Slack says that we're all curious if Martinez snaps his shin in half on Jose Aldo's cross check. Do you want to see that too? I don't want to see a shin snap, but I got to imagine that they are prepared for that and aren't going to be singular in their game plan. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe, I don't know. Those checks usually hurt the kicker more, so I don't want to say, because checks can still hurt, but those checks are brutal to the kicker. So yeah, I want to put that juju out there. If it does, maybe let it happen so my under still cashes, please. It's terrible. James Kendrick, the Aldo Munoz fight is a public service announcement on how to deal with calf kicks in MMA. Absolutely they are. But again, those were from the orthodox stance, so we will see how much harder or easier it is to check the other ones. Jimmy Kudo, how much of a factor in your analysis is the crowd for what they root for? I believe I answered that already, Mr. Kudo, but that is a great question. Thank you, sir. Again, most people talk about the judges. I look more like the clinch separations from the referees. I think those are more tangible, realistic affects that we can see. Matt Pauly, Mario Kart is bomb. I closed on my new house next week, and my 40th birthday is next month. We're going to do a Mario Kart projector screen for my party. That is awesome, man. And feed the kid in you, sir. And more importantly, congrats to the adult in you for closing on that house. And a happy early birthday to you, Mr. Pauly. I'll try to make sure to give you a birthday shout on net this week's show. Dry bones in my racer. There we go, my guy. All right, let's push on. We've got Anthony Smith plus 425, Victor Petrino minus 575. I'll keep this short. Obviously, going to be leaning toward Victor Petrino. Check me, on fight day on the new iteration of Quick Picks that gets released matchup per matchup, or you can just follow me at Dan Tom MMA here, as you see on the screen, on the artist formerly known as Twitter, where I post my picks and plays on fight day, as well as track my plays over on the Action Network app, where I've continued to do that. And if you want to see, if you want to feel better about yourself and look at a terrible losing record, but yeah, Smith, I know he's complaining about people, only reading the headlines and this and that. I'll tell you what, I listened to like some full interviews of Anthony Smith, and I did not like what I'm hearing, man. It is not raising confidence. I would love to take the dog shot on Anthony Smith. I would love to even just throw him by sub in a round robin, just for the value. But is there value in a losing bet, because, man, the guy sounds like, for as much as he gets crap for talking about his chances, how he feels his chances would be against Poatan, all the retirement and just the signs and the things I'm reading, I don't know, man. Because I'm actually reading things in context. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just getting all the bad vibes from this one, man. He's 0-2 in Brazil, has never won in Brazil. Interesting little tidbit there. Some bad losses. He's got his knee broken, got busted up by Thiago Santos, sent him up to 205. I like Anthony Smith. I want Anthony Smith to win here, folks. But I'll probably be picking Vitor Petrino, and I don't know if I'll really have a play on these fights, I don't think there'll be anything creative worthwhile. If I see something, you bet I'll be calling it and posting it, but we'll see. Ehor-Potieria. I need my guy Fenyo to get in here to do the duelist song. There's about to be a duel. We got the duelist plus 455 versus Michel. This is my consigliere, Michel Pereira. Michel minus 625. Yeah. So this is one that I'm probably gonna actually have a parlay, and there is going to be at least one of these stupid numbers in there, and I'll tell you with who I'm looking at. But I don't think one of those stupid number guys is going to be Michel, because even though I'm probably going to pick him here, Potieria feels like a guy who overachieves whether he wins or loses, which kind of says a lot of bad about a fighter and their perception. If the perception is they're overachieving regardless of what the fuck they do, that must mean you don't think very highly of them. But that doesn't mean it's not true for Potieria. So, I do believe, at the very least, Potieria will bring out best of Michel, which shouldn't be too much of a problem considering this division has seemingly brought out the best in Michel. But not just the weight cutting. I mean, you look at who they're matching him up with. Petrovsky, Erceg, and now Potieria. These are rough and tumble action guys who, as far as the UFC and their division goes, aren't the highest in the totem pole, which is fair to say, right? So yeah, he's definitely going to bring the best out of him. Perhaps there's an angle there. I'm sure the unders will be juiced. Yep, they sure are. Pereira to win by submission plus 350 is probably the only thing on there. Perhaps worth it, which I think could be a club and stuff. Actually, that might not be bad. Play Pereira by submission. Maybe throw that in there in the round robin plus 350. Because at those odds, I can still have a 5-legger. And then, definitely do a 4-legger with that. All right, next fight. Caio Borralho. Minus 650. Paul Craig. That's right. Nothing can outrun a grace me up, woman. Nothing can outrun a grace, Scotsman. So throw your kick, Stevie. Sorry. Sorry. Doing a fucking Willie from The Simpsons. And my first lot of mare will be to murder the lot of you. I know the mic's on. I love groundskeeper Willie. Grease me, woman. Anytime Paul Craig hits the check-in station, right? Bear Juice, unrecognizable. He's got his Turkish locks grown in, and now he's got them dyed blonde for Brazil, baby. Yeah, I like Borralho here. Still, I'm going to be writing these up tonight, so I'm going to be doing some touch-up analysis to fill in some holes to see if there's any bets that I like for these cards. But these are big, chalky favorites. Yeah, I mean, I would say I like Borralho a little better than Petrino, but at these prices, maybe I would, gun in my head, maybe take Petrino for like maybe a dollar less or so, even though they're both really high for that potential parlay. We'll see. I'm going to do some spot check analysis. But there's not much to tell you. Again, these are highly chalked fights between, not the most dependable fighters. And they're all 185 or above because, God forbid, we kick off a main paid portion main card, especially, why would we go with the tried and true Joe Silva method that's never fucking failed? A men's featherweight or men's lightweight. No, that would be too easy. Let me tell you guys, I got these fucking things. It's gonna blow your fucking mind. No one's ever heard of it. It's state of the art. They're fucking called middleweights, alright? They're gonna fucking blow your hair back. Like, I don't know if they're just like going Dana White ethos on this, Give me fucking new metal and Denty Nice. It's 2005 middleweights. I don't know what's going on there, I don't live in the past. Going to Dana White's office, got a bowl of Denty Nice. Like, look at this shit. Denty Nice. You're so proud when we did the tour back when the Apex first opened. Dude, this guy is living in the early odds. Let me tell you. Sorry, where did I get from there? But yeah, I mean, I was criticizing the fucking main card. Yep, not just big boys slopping around. There are action fights in their defense. They will be action-packed. You'll get some sloppy, stupid finish, and then, that's where the matchmakers, Dana White, can go, if you don't know now, you know. Yeah, look at, we got finishes. And then they're going to pull out some power slap metrics like, listen, this was the number one. Potieria versus Pereira was the highest engaged metrics on TikTok for Cambodian midgets between the age of 40 and 42. What the fuck? But the scumbag media is going to be out here trying to ruin the fucking sport. I don't know. I imagine that is the... I'm sorry. All right, enough Dana White blowing out your guys' eardrums. Prelims! Jesus Christ, Dan. What should be on the main card and kicking it off, Joanderson Brito minus 175. Jack Shore plus 145. So he moved up a little bit, but I think it was like minus 155 when I first caught this number, and I didn't play it. Because I was surprised. I was like, man, is money coming in on Jack Shore? I'm surprised Brito's this low. And then I looked and I'm like, Brito opened as the dog? I mean, granted, it was plus 100 and only lasted for a second. Because all you CLV crowd can't let us have any of the fun. CLV. By the way, I got like all CLV last week on all my straight picks. And I look at it a lot of times. I get CLV all the time. But I don't brag about it. Because you got to win the bet first. Even when you win the bet, I don't brag about it as hard as these motherfuckers brag about their CLV before the fight even happens. And the motherfuckers who brag about CLV, they're bragging about chalk CLV, which makes it even fucking worse. Whereas my CLV, I haven't done that move like since the 90s, is at least plus money. So not only am I on the value, where you should be in this fucking game, where the money's at, but I'm getting CLV on that value too. Now again, it's also more ballsier because you're having to bet against the public and you're betting an underdog. So you have more balls whilst more process and justification to your backing. Yet I still don't brag as hard after the fact as motherfuckers do before the fact. And you wonder why I hate CLV or CLV crowd. No offense if you keep track of that. I'm sorry. But you know why I hate that shit so much. That's why, motherfuckers. That's why. But anyways, CLV crowd. We'll see if they ruined it or we all go down in flames. Because I agree with them here. I agree with the CLV crowd juicing and potentially mushing this line. I should talk mushing the line, Mr. fucking 12-event losing streak. Who the hell am I to call anybody a mush, right? Throw your fruit. It's deserved. But yeah, I agree with the MMA gamblers here. I do like Joanderson Brito. I'm really surprised. I think the more the question is, how does he win? I want to look a little closer. And I'm very high on Jack Shore, but, and he already showed, granted it was Makwan Amir Khan. He didn't tell us much for his first fight at 145, but, like, who was the other fighter that moved up? I know another English guy did before him. It was, what's his name?
fought Andre Fili. I think I even picked him, granted, but I was like reluctant about it. Whether I pick these guys or not, I'm reluctant about it. And whether I pick him or not, these 135ers that move up to 145 are just doing damn good. The size difference isn't, that big of a deal, which is crazy. So maybe Jack Shore continues that trend, or you could say he already pressed his luck with it, and this is just a Joanderson Brito needs to get better matchups, Like, you could argue he already deserved a higher level matchup before the Jonathan Pierce one. Not that Jonathan Pierce wasn't a higher level guy, because they definitely were promoting him. But let's be honest, it was a disrespectful matchup in the sense of it was maybe the most higher profile guy Brito got, minus like Fili, who Fili's a pretty high profile guy. He knocks him out. Shouldn't he get something bigger? No, they try to set him up to be the B-side. I tried to look at this in too much of my analysis. Not hating if you do, I get it. But as far as like, oh, this is who the UFC wants to win, this and that. Like, I don't really care about that and use that as far as how I pick fights or how I gamble on fights or either of the or. But I do feel that it's important to note, in certain situations that it matters for context, right? It matters for context. And for me, the context that matters regarding that, relevant to here, is that, like, yeah, they weren't setting him up because they thought he was going to and then choke out JSP, right? No, they gave him JSP in the small cage to lose, baby. But he didn't. And now he's still on the fucking prelims, right? Like, okay, you finally send him to Brazil, even though he's been asking to go to Brazil, asking for matchups like Dan Ige, which I'm actually glad they didn't make, because I love my guy Dan Ige. But the point is, he's been asking for big names that he deserves to be fighting in Brazil, which he already deserves for over a year now. This guy's been asking for it. And now we throw him on the freaking prelims against another guy who, even though I don't agree with those odds, he opens as the favorite. He's the British UK darling. He's the media darling, more the media darling, the more popular, the more marketable guy, right? All these things. It's like, why are you giving him these spots again? Now, I think this is a more favorable spot than the JSP spot as far as winnability goes, but it just doesn't make any fucking sense. So maybe I'm going to go spot check this one, folks, even though I'm already tired and I'm on a few hours and I'm already going to be up late all night, which will probably ruin my chances of working out tomorrow or having a functional tomorrow. But I do want to spot check this fight because I don't agree, and not only maybe do I pick a specific way if it jumps out, if there's enough value on it to play like for my round robin, but Brito is absolutely somebody I want to. He is one of two lower chalk legs, and both those might be able to make plus money if I put them together. We'll see. He's minus 175. The other guy's minus 250. You can probably already guess who I'm thinking of. In that case, if you skip ahead. But yeah, Brito is someone I'm going to look to parlay. That way I don't have to choose, Parker. Because, like, who knows? He could maybe win it's much less likely. Shore is more likely to win a decision, even in Brazil, with their stylistically. But, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Brito to win a decision either, even though he's more of a finisher. Yasmin Lucindo, minus 410. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, 1985, still alive, baby. Double K. As long as she's not triple K, we're okay. Jesus, Dan, come on, really? So I'm just saying, it's MMA. You don't know. Sorry. You don't know who's dressing up like a ghost for Halloween in this sport. Jesus Christ, Dan, come on, stay on target. I love me some Karolina Kowalkiewicz for reasons that maybe don't have to do with MMA, but I don't disagree with Yasmin Lucindo being the favorite here. We'll probably end up picking her, but we'll see. Maybe I go with Double K and Toutmaster. My heart will definitely be. I don't want to call her Double K because Triple K lives right next door. We don't want to be around that. Kowalkiewicz. All right, next fight. Stay on target. Stay on target. Mikti Beck. Oh boy. Minus 250. Elvis Brenner plus 205. Sorry for your ears. I'm choosing to do the shout out to the MMA analysis since I don't get to hear them do since Cowboy Oliveira no longer fights for the organization. I don't get to hear the MMA analysis guys go, oh boy. I don't get to hear that anymore. So now we have, oh boy. It's either that, as annoying as that is, or I straight up call him Oral Boy, which sounds like the worst job to have on a pirate ship, right? Like, if that's your assignment, like, Arr! Somebody fetch me Oral Boy. Someone's got some swashbuckling to do on this butthole. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I don't know. Like, that's the last person you want to be, right? Like, I don't want to call this guy looks like he gets enough crap, for his, He looks like he should be like reenacting the Dave Caveman Rickles walkout, right? Which, by the way, someone can comment live or past tense or DM me what song. I probably could look it up myself, but what song is that? Like, I love that song. It's like the Dave Caveman Rickles comes out to, because now I hear it every time I see. Oh boy, like I picture him with like a woolly mammoth, like a woolly mammoth fur and like a spear, like. How's it go? It's not the whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, it is that song. Yeah, whatever the hell that song is. Yeah. Yeah, anyways. Oh, boy. Wow, Dan. Can we get to breaking down the fight? He's supposed to break down fights. He's just talking about Orolbai. Listen, I picked Orolbai last time, and he showed us well, but he did show a bit better striking on the regional scene. It was a short notice fight, a bit sloppy. He was just trying to close the distance. Obviously, that's where the advantage was against Uros Medic. And I got to imagine he's going to want to, will be forced into that with Brener, because Brener's a wild man. But again, a durable guy, where if you do piece him to the dome, like the shots that put Tim Means out, he took just fine, and he stayed on target, didn't he? And he pushes through, and just looks like he looks like a Dagestani, with his as far as like his game, his approach. By the way, by the way, Paul Craig is my dad joke for the thing. What do you call Paul Craig after he went to Russia to train his wrestling? A Hagestani. All right, that's a bad Scottish joke there. But I don't know if Mickey Beck Orolbai is gonna have any. I don't know if he has any Stani in him, but he definitely has that style, which is pretty high percentage. So, give me Orolbai here. Next fight, Jean Silva minus 122. William Gomi plus 102. Was listening to a bit of Anik Florian pod, and they were running the audio file for Jean Silva, and I was like, dude, the way this guy, he says his first name for the ladies. He says it, Jean. My name is Jean. Jean. He looks like essentially the Brazilian version of Sam Sicilia. Jean Silva, aka Brazilian Sam Sicilia. Brazilian Sam Sicilia versus French Takanori Gomi, William Gomi here. Yeah, man. So I got assigned this one for Action Network, and I was like, I wasn't too excited about it, to be honest, but I was like, you know what? This is a good excuse, because I've been avoiding like doing real tape study on Gomi, because I just never want to watch his fights. The matchup season isn't appealing. His style isn't appealing. And even on fight night, it's just because his style and his matchups aren't appealing, and I don't have money on him, and I'm just a busy motherfucker who doesn't have time to sleep. Like, yeah, I've got much better things. It falls under that category where like I've got better things to do during the prelims, and I'm doing those things around the house or whatever. So like, I barely get to watch this guy, and I went through his tape, and yeah, I feel less crazy. I also feel less crazy listening to the early prelims podcast. One of the few things I can listen to and not feel like I crept my filter, because it's a beautiful preview that is the opposite of this. It's nice and tight by my guy Fenyo there on the Fight Site podcast feed. You should go check that out. But he didn't sound too impressed with the Gomis either, and I went back to watch the tape, and I'm like, yeah. And, I know Silva looks like more of an opportunist from his record, especially his last fight, even though it was against a southpaw. And I love that his proprioception just seems so on point, that he was finding the southpaw killer, the left hook, that I guess I couldn't blame him for headhunting, because it was being presented on a silver platter, as is with Weston Wilson. No offense to him or his camp. It's what it is, right? He was giving him an offer he couldn't refuse, It's just like the thing with the Jonathan Martinez. Not that he can't kick other places, but if you're going to give him that target, why not, right? But if you go read my write-up and go back and watch his fight, on the Contender Series, you get 3 rounds of, again, not against the UFC level talent, granted, but at least you get the 3 rounds there. And it's not against a southpaw, granted, or anything, but you see more of his game. And I compared it a little more to like kind of Figueiredo, not just the opportunism, but he uses those kind of long frame. Even though he's not a long fighter, he fights like with a long frame, and he uses those long frames to set up his counter shots and almost set up obstacles to like, giving them paths. You got to work this angle around my guard, but he's got answers for it, kind of a deal. He's like just like he wants you to come in. He's got something waiting for you, kind of a deal. Like Figueiredo, right, at 125, especially Figueiredo. Like in those Benavidez fights and the Moreno 1 fight, kind of a style, right? And he'll work the legs and body, which I do like, especially against a tall guy who's going to be jumping in and out like Gomi, who I'm not really a big fan of. And he's a Sanda style, so that makes sense. I'm like, dude, you're in France. Like, you got such good Muay Thai there. Why'd you choose Sanda? Like, no offense to Sanda or whatever, but, like, you really see the Sanda style as far as, like, he's got better takedowns and ground and pound than you'd expect. Not just because it says it on his resume, but you go watch, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, he's not afraid. He'll reverse to takedown opportunities if you're coming in too hot. And he'll occasionally just outright take his own initiative on a takedown opportunity, right? Like, he'll do all those 3 different things to end up on top in his fights. But even when he's doing well there and it would serve him well to stay there, he doesn't really stay there that often, right? Which, by the way, was another weird note going back to watch that Merab and Aldo fight. Merab actually lets Aldo off a lot of those times, which was really weird too, and he still won the fight, which is another reason why Martinez will have that backdoor option of clinching. But anyways, for this one, yeah, with Gomi, like, yeah, he will take it to the ground and ground and pound, but, like, and I talk about this, like, I remember talking about it was the Dagestani Randy Couture, fucking, yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about, Shamil Abdurakhimov. He's a Sanda guy as well, and it's like, yeah, you'll see, like, surprising striking and, like, surprising takedown, but there's not much beyond 1 or 2 layers of the it's ground and pound, not submissions, and there aren't, like, grapevines or dope mounts to a mount or anything like that. Like, they're more like side ride punching positions, and then they're done, they're up. Because Sanda, it's more momentarily scoring. It's not a lot of prolonged ground play you're getting. Like, they're gonna allow takedowns and some ground strikes, But think of karate combat. You're not going to see, like, prolonged, like, ground fighting there, right? So your position intricacies are going to be shortened, much less your submission intricacies, which is why, even though Gomi was very surprising, both whether he's being offensive or countering and ending on top, when he does actually secede position and end up on, he, like, falls apart. Like, he just, like, did the flat, like, not flat defense, because it's not a defense. It wasn't like he was in a Darce like Arman was with Chucky Olives, right? He was like flattened out bad, like RNC. He looked like he was out, and then almost gave like he was just, again, it was surviving, and it wasn't even good defense. It was surviving, and it wasn't even good surviving, right? If you had to grade the surviving, which rates much lower than actual defense, right? So it was just a really bad look. I'm talking about the Francis Marshall fight. Of course, he gets a stoppage in his next fight. Was that short notice as well? I know that guy wasn't too impressive. But again, I'm not sold on Gomi. And usually a guy like Jean Silva, I still would want to see more. But this guy looks like a natural fighter. He doesn't have the accolades. He comes from a camp that's, smart as far as the game plan and resource. Those Fighting Nerds guys is going to have 2 members of them on the card, one of them being a southpaw, both of them being taller than him, as is his opponent, right? So I like Jean Silva here. I'm surprised as well that he opened as the dog. So for that reason, if you got plus money on Gomis, I mean, if you want to play that game, even though it's not a big flip, you were still getting the fighter who was favored as an underdog. So for that reason, you can play Gomi. You don't owe an explanation to anybody, right? That being said, I don't know if the juice so much is worth the squeeze as far as that number of underdog and much less that number of line flip. It didn't travel that far to flip. You're not getting a great number, right? So, and it sounds like I'm not shitting on those plays, just like I wasn't shitting on anyone playing Erceg plays. I'm just saying, like, not only am I questioning it as a Pantoja fan and backer, you should also be questioning it, if not more mad, as an Erceg fan, because I'm making valid points. I'm not saying anything crazy, and B, it means you should be actually getting a better line on Erceg. Again, some of these lines just don't make sense. It's not that I'm shitting on anybody for picking or even playing the dog here. Even if you're on opposite, I'm not shitting on you. In fact, I think you should be getting better numbers. It's not that I'm shitting anybody for playing Gomi for slight plus money when he opened as a favorite. Again, the value argument, albeit slight, is technically in your side. But, are you getting, that much value? Like, I don't think so. In fact, I think you should be getting more, because I think John Silva should be a bigger favorite. So if I think he should be a bigger favorite, well, that means by definition, I believe there is value on John Silva, right? And there is this logic, not that you have to go by it. I love plus money over minus money any day of the week. However, when we're talking about minus 114 versus minus 108, or we're talking about minus 122 versus plus 102, these spreads that I'm seeing for this fight, is that number alone really worth a dog shot when you're practically getting even money on both sides, right? And especially, is it worth it when you add the analysis to the numbers? You're not just playing value in numbers here. Now we're adding the analysis, seeing where that stacks up. And again, even if you let Gomi here, I feel like you should be getting a better number on him. And so I don't, even though by definition the value is most easily argued for Gomi off basic definition of number flippage, where the plus number's at, you can also very much argue that the money is on John Silva. And I don't like to take part in these lower level, less proven preliminary cards that MMA gamblers love to put their flags in. And I don't know if this fight is it. I don't pay attention enough. I just talk shit about MMA gambling Twitter, as you guys can see. I feel like I've known their trends enough, like being a part of it for over a decade now. You get to know the beast. But this feels like one of those classic fights where I'm like, everybody's dumb for being super confident on one side or the other. But maybe it's because of the trapping where I'm paid to write it up and have a take on it. But if I find a take I like, I'm going to play it, you know? They're not making me take a betting side or a bet, or no one's making me play these bets. But I try to do it as somewhat of an honor system, you know? And even though this isn't something that I'm super confident, I don't recommend you play either side, really. I'm actually looking toward the John Silva side here. If I can get it for minus 110, which is what it's listing at Caesars, even though my app is conveniently down while this number is available right now. Surprise, surprise. At Pick'em odds, I feel like John Silva is worth the play. It's not a really sexy thing to write up, but for me, it's the more skilled fighter. He's the more dangerous fighter. He's the better athlete. He's got the higher ceiling. He's got the more finishing potential. Everyone complains about, you know, I was complaining about judges' decisions earlier, right? We all complain about judges' decisions in MMA gambling. That's the thing to do, right? Because we've all been burned by it, right? No matter what our luck is. You can be in my variance of the luck. You could be in the opposite of my variance of luck. Chances are we've all been burned by bad decisions, right? And we all say, but you know, everyone every week try to correct themselves, going, you know what? Done betting on fighters that go to decision. I'm done getting burnt like this, you know? So remember that when in fights like these too. Again, when it's small margins, fine numbers. I want the finisher, you know. And again, even intangible stuff that I don't value quite as high as others. But yeah, John Silva's also going to have the home court advantage, the less travel, you know, all those things. So yeah, give me John Silva if I can get him at minus 110. That might be my lone straight play, depending on what else I see here. All right, gonna knock through the rest of the prelims, and I'll clean up the chat. We'll get the F out of here. Drakkar Klose, minus 185. Joaquim Silva, plus 154. This looks like going to be a fun fight. These are more proven products. So if I have the time to go through this one, perhaps I would find a bet, and I would feel less bad about it because these are proven products. I feel less bad about putting my money win or lose. We've got a better sample size. However, I don't have a strong lean off these guys off the bat. Klose has been looking better, slowly but steadily, after some injuries and some camp change. He's kind of made a little bit of a late career renaissance here. A small one, but maybe big enough to come through. He is favored. Joaquim Silva, always dangerous. I'll look closer, maybe see if there's an angle I like there. Mullarkey, you have all the reason to bet him because he did a big flip. We're not talking about plus 102 to minus 102, right? Like Gomi. Mullarkey did a complete $1.80 jump. He went from minus 180 to plus 180, plus 185 in some houses. I like Mullarkey. Martinez-Ruffy, I gotta go rewatch his tape and watch more of his tape. But from my Contender Series read up that I just skimmed over before jumping on here, it looked like I complained about him not being that active, and even though I gave him an A- and he got a finish, it was kind of reliant on a fighter gassing out, a lower level fighter gassing out, something you can't really rely on at this level, much less of the weight class he's competing in. Say what you will about Mullarkey, that's not going to happen. Will Mullarkey's chin fail him? Perhaps. I gotta watch more of Ruffy's footage here. But yeah, this one feels like a weird one where I may just I'll probably take Mullarkey and Toutmaster for sure, but I may just pick Mullarkey outright, but not play it unless I have time to really dive into this one and see something I really like. But that number jumps kind of out to me. Diana Barbosa minus 238, Ernesta Kareckaite plus 195. I have no interest really in looking into this one, to be honest. Israel Bonfim minus 535, Vince Pichel from hell, Pichel plus 400. I agree with Bonfim being favored, but like we've seen both those brothers drop the ball. Pichel, even though he's an older dog, he's a dog. Plus this number is way too wide for me to want to do anything with it. I don't like the dog enough to play him, and I certainly ain't gonna touch the chalk. So unless there's some weird angle that jumps out, this will be a fight that I'll probably just skip, pick Bonfim, and just be done with it and watch for the entertainment value. And lastly but not least, we have Alessandro Costa minus 122, Kevin Borjas plus 102. No strong opinion on this one. Haven't looked into it. Not sure if I will look into it. Gonna lean toward Costa for the home court advantage and perhaps that ground advantage if he wants to get after it. But Borjas had some really nice boxing and body work that I remember seeing. But I don't have a clear view on that. All right. Before I recap my picks, plays / potential plays, let's go knock what you guys got to say out of the park here. Pereira-Potieria. Yes, the Potieria, bring it up in the live chat. Ghost, we got to reshout that tweet. We got to reshare that tweet. The PYN chat whenever I bring up Pereira-Potieria, the Animal House tweet. Me, my timely 1978 references. What exactly does Mr. Lionheart do? I don't know. Oh, are you repeating a tweet that I saw earlier? Mr. Lionheart says some stuff, for sure. I just hope he gets back to his fighting ways for his seg this weekend. James Kendrick, are we still doing that bit where we all hit Ehor? Absolutely. Yes, we throw our cans at the screen at Pereira-Potieria. By the way, I do wonder if that's why they put Pereira-Potieria. You notice that? They put Anthony Smith. Dude, I think Shogun is matchmaking this card. He's just like everybody who beat. If Shogun doesn't have a Poetan like going around like getting his kills back for him like Glover has. Like Glover has his own personal hitman to avenge all his losses now. Like Shogun doesn't have that, so he must have like cashed in a favor with the matchmakers because you got fucking Paul Craig who like gave him an embarrassingly bad beatdown, made him tap to strikes. You got Pereira-Potieria who sent him out ignominiously. You've got Anthony Smith who like elbowed him to death and really like dramatically brought about even more of a decline somehow just when you thought the bottom couldn't drop off anymore. Like, dude, this is like you need like the emperor. You have the face in the background, the head, like it should be like Shogun's head in the background. Like that is the only justification for that shit booking first 3 fights that I just pointed out. It's Shogun's revenge to start the card. Sorry. Reese's in Truesdale. Ehor's Fortnite dance is one of the cringiest things I've ever seen. Then the camera shake made it worse. Yes, it is. Careful. Fenyo's probably going to clip that and share it for all of us to see. And I'll share it if Fenyo does that too, by the way. Jimmy Kudo. What is going on there with Dana? Middleweight is such a wasteland. He fucking loves it, though, dude. It's like Joe Rogan with leg kicks. You hear the belt buck start to jostle, Because every time he has like one of those specials, like, I got an announcement, matchups. It's like all fucking middleweight. It's like 90% middleweight matchups every time. He loves it. He fucking loves middleweight. James Kendrick, yes, love me some Kevin Iole subtle shade. Did I give Kevin Iole subtle shade? I wasn't trying to give Kevin Iole shade. What did I say? Now, what did I say? Ghost Phantom. Remember when McFarlane KO'd that soccer mom on the regional scene? It's cringe when Dana goes, now you know when he match makes terrible fights between a jobber and a vet and they get the finish. Yeah, he always does that. Unless, he stays quiet when the finish doesn't happen, when it's just like the heavyweights that go to decision. Wayne Lamina, what is the if you don't know, now you know reference? I try to avoid IG, but card keeps showing up. Basically, Dana White will do like quick hits where he's like standing in front of the board, the war room board, and he'll like, it's like their attempt to like promote their product / a fight that's not the main event. And it's usually just any matchup where it has 1 or 2 fighters that were in the contender series, which is essentially you just throw a dart and you hit one of those matchups now because it's like 75% of every fight night card and almost half of the pay-per-views at this point. he will go, if you don't know now, you know, because there's so many of them that one of them is bound to get a finish. And even if it's crappy or a bad matchup, like the previous chatter said, he will do his victory dance. Jimmy Kudo, do you take melatonin? Yes, I do. Jimmy Kudo says, that can help for your sleep patterns. I promise this is not a spam ad. I really would like to help. I appreciate that, Jimmy Kudo. I actually do. It's just remembering to take it, and then like sometimes it's like I can't take because I got some deadlines or some things, and it's just I'm just a one-man show here, man. Running a house, cleaning, cooking, taking care of 2 dogs, working over the 40 hours a week, all that fun stuff. Yeah, so it's just a one-man show. Just no different than a lot of people on that same grind. It's not easy, but it is. It's what I'm doing, and I'm grateful to do it. I'm not, gonna complain too hard about that. James Kendrick, would you like Carolina to go on a 5-fight streak win here? And why did they make her the embedded in a bikini? Not that I'm complaining. Did they? Oh my goodness. I bet they did. Carolina Kowalkiewicz. She's a cutie, man. Rio says in Truesdale, how funny would it be if Mickey Brener-Orolbai wins a UFC title so Jack Slack can say he's the greatest Kyrgyz ever? Kyrgyz, is that like Kyrgyzstani? Or what is that? I don't know. Hope I didn't get in trouble saying that, but sure. Why not? Please not racial. Jimmy Kudo, did you say French Takanori Gomi? Let's go. Yeah, he's Gomis and he's French, so why not? Let's do it. How good is your Twitter copyright takedown defense? My takedown defense has been bad, so I've been doing cartoons not to get it. I don't know, man. Like, as much as I complain, I feel like, again, like, I'm definitely going to end up on the Sphere Media's smear campaign when Dana White does that video. But I think the reason why I haven't been in any videos since, other than that I'm a nobody and nobody cares, which is obviously true. But I think the reason why I still get on the broadcast when I do tweet UFC-friendly tweets, and the reason why I don't get on those things, and perhaps the reason why my account hasn't been... I've gotten DCMA'd for, like, music and bullshit whenever I attach, like, music to my clips, so I'm a little worried about that. I recently did one with Alex Perez. I have that Kill Bill soundtrack song underneath it, lightly, albeit. But I don't know, man. I feel like I'm like Edward Norton in American History X, where, like, I complain about the system, and I'm like, going through my own bullshit and my own anger issues. I'm sorting through all my bullshit here, old angry fucking issue filled Dan Tom, right? And as he's getting out of prison, Edward Norton realized he didn't realize that it was the brother. Don't forget about the brothers. It was the black dude in the laundry room, the most unlikely guy that was actually helping him and keeping skinhead Edward Norton safe. And I feel like I have friends that I don't realize I have behind the scenes. Part of me thinks that in UFC production, just because as much as I say critical about the UFC, I'm always complimentary, loving, and appreciative toward their staff and broadcast crew in front and behind the camera. Maybe that's it. I don't know. That's all I can think of. James Kendrick, or maybe I just maybe for all my bad luck in one area, maybe I'm just damn lucky there. James Kendrick, speaking of Sanda fighters playing on the ground, did you like Zhang Weili splitting the legs and grabbing a cross wrist right against Yan Jian? That was beautiful. Yeah, that was really nice. Weili's wrestling always improving. As pointed out by Ghost before this report was taken down, I took screenshots so I have that report saved. Oh, that's awesome. Good on you guys for doing that, by the way. Wayne Lamina, come on, Dan. We got to hear the accent from Mullarkey. Jamie Mullarkey there. Hey, Jamie Mullarkey, your dad Ted Danson's coming to town. Sorry. Fucking that forehead, man. Jimmy Kudo, Borjas was the dude that Josh Fan ripped at the body too. Yeah, it was like they went back and forth. That was a fun matchup. Ghost Phantom just reposted that Animal House vid. You are the man. I'm gonna repost that too then. Shade at Kevin Ioli when you said that W for Power Slap is the most viewed YouTube ever. Sure. Oh, well, because he reports on Power Slap. Sure. I'm just making fun of more. Actually, not even just like Dana, but like everybody's like it's the new corporate bullshit thing where we just take these numbers and engagement numbers and we base everything off that. That's more my just hate for that in general. The Rod Economy. Shout out to Better Offline. James Kendrick. That from Kevin. It makes fun of. Okay, I got you. Yeah. Rain Lamina. Drake Riggs saw American History X for the first time a few months ago. It's such a great movie. It is. I want to get see if I was better. Like I also said with the Die Hard thing for like if I get a winning night do the Die Hard thing where it's like, oh, the FBI agent's like, oh, they don't know what hit him, and it'd be like, it would say CLV betters, you know what I'm saying? And then the cops, it would show like as the betting house, and then when it shows the bad guys break into the vault, and they're like, da, 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 flipping, the Christmas music's playing, they're flipping over the vault cases. Like I can name like, oh, Pantoja by submission, so and so in round 2, But for my bad nights, which I would have plenty of use for this one with the way I've gone, especially my reverse sweeps, I would have so much use where I would edit the American History shower rape scene, and everybody that gets behind Norton to give him a good thrust is whatever bet that missed. That would be like, Pantoja's up, oh! Lesio Zaleski inside the distance, oh! Just kidding, like, it'd be so appropriate for a Dan Tom betting night, too. It'd be both with my dark sense of humor and my results. It fits. Ugh, phrasing, but it does fit. Ugh, phrasing, but it does. All right, let's get out of here. As the show has clearly hit the rocks. All right, recapping picks and plays. Recapping. Get the fuck out of here. It's been too long of a show. Wow, way too long, over 2 hours. Okay, recapping. Taking Pantoja over Erceg. Voting for Pedro, taking Martinez over Aldo, I know. Probably taking Petrino over Smith. Check me on Fight Day at Dan Tom MMA. Probably taking Pereira over Potieria. Throw your cans, chat. Taking, just for mentioning the name, probably taking Pereira over Potieria. Check me at Dan Tom MMA on Fight Day. Probably taking Kyle Bohaya over Craig. Check me on Fight Day. Probably most definitely taking Brito over Shore. Check me at Dan Tom MMA on Fight Day. And those previous 3 or 4, check the MMA Junkie. Just for the main card in general for my write-ups. Please support those. Share those. Appreciated. Probably taking Lucindo over Kowalkiewicz, but we'll take Kowalkiewicz and Top Master, and my heart will be with her, if anything. Taking Orolbai over Brenner. Taking Jean Silva over William Gomis. Probably taking Jakar Close over Joaquim Silva. We'll probably take Mullarkey over Ruffy, but might stay away from that. You definitely want to check me on Fight Day in both those to see where I end up. At Dan Tom MMA. Yeah, probably taking Barbosa over Kareckaite, but I have no strong takes and have no interest in even looking into that fight. Probably taking Bonfim over Pichel, but I'm probably just going to avoid that fight. Probably going to take Costa over Borralho-Craig, but too competitive, too closely lined to really squeeze value. So I will also probably be avoiding that fight. As of right now, I'm only on Pantoja inside the distance, plus 161.5 units. Martinez round 2 and round 3, plus 900, plus 1300 for those, 0.33 each. Potential hedge and bonus if we get a finish. Aldo Martinez under 2.5, plus 201 unit. Looking at Jean Silva, if I can get him toward even money at minus 110, I would probably only just put 1.110 to win 1 unit. If that is the case, and that would be my lone straight play as of now. If it is, probably going to do a parlay that pairs Orolbai and oh, what the fuck is his name? Brito. Together. Maybe I just do just them two, or maybe I just throw a fat, stupid, big favorite, chalky favorite in there and really secure a nice 3-leg plus number there for the parlay. As far as round robin goes, I'm not sure if Mullarkey gets 2-1. Maybe I use him for the money line play there. Otherwise, I might look for let's see here. I don't think anything for Silva-Gomis. I'm already exposed enough if I end up even taking a money line. It's more than I should be playing on that. Maybe something for Orolbai if I see that. I like, trying to make the parlay legs, pay themselves off if they can finish in a particular route. You know how I like to layer there. Same with Joe Anderson and Brito. Maybe if I see something in one of those I can throw in there. Maybe Bohio around 3 or something like that. Throw that in there for fun. Michel Pereira by submission, right? Maybe we got room for 1 or 2 more, depending if I find anything on those Orolbai or Brito legs. But maybe nothing for Petrino or Smith. maybe Martinez, something there. I don't know. Maybe like a fight ends in split decision or something. That plus 300 if I can do that for the Aldo Martinez in a round robin for fun. Give me some coverage for a decision. And then again, maybe something with Pantoja in it. So, yeah, I can't really give you too hard locks as far as what my round robin's going to look like. But I'm thinking I can produce a 5-legger here, have one parlay, have one straight shot, one total, and my normal props between the inside the distance and some round flyers. Yeah, I'm not sure what will be. Maybe Michel Pereira will be my prop squad because I still need something for that at plus 300 or over. Let's see what that is real quickly before I get out of here. Ba-da-ba-ba. Michel, my consigliere. Plus 360, plus 3. Yeah, I should stay north of plus 300. So maybe that'll be in the round robin / a small play there for that. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So thank you guys. Some nice comments to leave the show out. Jimmy Cotto, awesome show. Love hanging out, the chat, being respectful. Thanks for your time, Dan. Appreciate you guys. As always, Phantom Punch just noticed that Tim Matheson was in that Animal House clip. He's great. He played Larry on Burn Notice, which was one of my favorite TV shows in high school. Oh, Burn Notice, great shout. That was a fun show from what I remember. I wasn't hardcore into it, but I would watch it when it was on for sure. Tim Matheson as well, great shout. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys for stomaching my long show, my crazy references, my long-winded ass. Enjoy the fights, whether you're gambling or not. Good luck on your picks and plays. Fuck the IDF, free Palestine, and always protect your neck.